There are two types of business owners, those who are busy and those who want to be busy. Toast is designed for both, with tools to keep you humming and help turn grind into growth. That's how you turn busy into business. Toast, built for busy.
Be broadcasting live, and if you're one of those people that lift the weights, you know what I'm talking about, and you're just got this tightness and kind of like how we start the day. We start all tight, and by the end of it, whether it's 20 minutes, 40 minutes, or 4 hours, we're through it. So thank you all for joining us. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at the Boise Music Festival. Remember, we're less than 2 weeks away for the biggest event in Idaho, the biggest free event in Idaho. Your chance to win tickets this hour by simply being caller number 4 or caller number 10 to win that family 4-pack at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And, you know, it's interesting. We do love the state of Idaho. And I thought I would start off with our boy Keith Dreslin's podcast once again. And it's interesting how the podcasting people continue to grow and podcasting revenue grows, and people saying, you know, it's a point of pride to be on a podcast. And I can remember years ago being approached to start a podcast with Tommy Ahlquist now. And as I said, Tommy now does his own podcasting with Matt and the crew there. They do a great job. But I'm sitting there looking at this, and, you know, there are very few of them that are successful, but everybody wants to be on a podcast. And we have Matt Todd from the Ranch Podcast, who has built a very successful audience, if you will, as well. We have Dylan Stalker, who continues to rise up the rankings. And Dylan says, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were a guest on the program, and they said, I was on the Hilly and Billy. I was on with Hilly and Billy. I go, who? Oh, they do a podcast. You ever heard of them? Nope. And I don't know. Maybe there's a bias against radio because it's conservative. Maybe there's a bias against whatever. And maybe it's a little easier. You can flip on your Netflix of audio and you could choose whatever you want. You don't have to listen to Crazy Al. You don't have to listen to TBB. You don't have to listen to Kevin Miller. You don't have to listen to a lot of folks. But a podcast, to a degree, and I listen to Ben Shapiro and a few others, they can't give you the vibe of the community. And I think there's still really, really, really a crucial point for that. That's why, I love radio. You know, somebody said, well, why aren't you on Sally and Bally? You're better than Sally and Bally. I go, it's not about being better. It's about what you love. And there are so many people that are gleaned and streamed for the stream. I don't see it. I appreciate it. I acknowledge it. And I think it's great. We're not bagging on it, but it's just very different. Anyway, I start with this because the podcast Extremely American, this is from, let's see, is this Boise State Public Radio? Yep, I knew it. This is where your taxpayer dollars are going. So to promote this podcast, concerning what's wrong with Idaho. Now, Heath has been on this program. He's a very talented guy. We go back and forth, but again, he has his own vibe here. And maybe if Heath reaches out, we'll put him on, but the first question I'm going to ask him is, dude, why are we always doing the same old, same old? So I'll pose it to you, and you tell me. I know it's a little early, and yes, the Iranian Deal is still going on, and everybody's bagging on the president. But before that, let me just share with you this clip. The podcast Extremely American delves into the world of extremist movements in America, exploring militia groups, Christian nationalism, and white supremacist networks. Host Heath Dresden has embedded with these groups to provide in-depth, on-the-ground journalism. Get this now. The podcast's second season focuses in on the Christian nationalist movement with a spotlight on Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho. Season 3 will explore the roots of modern white supremacist movement, tracing back to the violent neo-Nazi network in the West. The podcast is listener-funded and aims to shed light on the evolving landscape of extremism in America. Well, with all due respect to Heath, aren't we singing a same old song? Okay. I'm not the brightest bulb in the world. I'm not the whatever, but I think I have a pretty good vibe on race. And tell me where you live. And I know, Brian, you're thinking about this already, and we hope you're doing well, Brian. But tell me where you live, where there's extremist movement. Tell me, just because Heath will say something is extreme, does that make it extreme? Tell me, because Boise State taxpayer-funded media says so, makes it straight. Look, they're good journalists over there, but they get paid to be good because we support them. I don't think, if all of a sudden you want to start funding this program, great. We'll hire 27 people. And it'll be like the Pat McAfee show, and it'll be Kevin, Bevan, and Bevan. But that's really not the point here. The point is, why are we always focusing in on negative? And what I'm going to say is, let me contrast that with what J.D. Vance was saying, what was going on. And J.D. Vance, again, he's doing his book tour. He was on The View yesterday. Let's take a listen to what he had to say, stories that are not being covered. And then you tell me what's extreme.
Here's what I'd say. Do we know that during the last administration, we had tens of thousands of children who were sex trafficked by the cartels, who were brought into our country in profoundly dangerous and predatory conditions?
Let's talk about this administration.
But here's the point. Unless you enforce the border, you invite that kind of conduct. You think that our immigration policies are inhumane based on the reporting of one person with a political bias. What I'm telling you is that it's inhumane to allow cartels to sex traffic people across our border. And by the way,
please hold on.
I appreciate that. I'm going to get you back, Anna.
We're coming back.
Well, and this is what they do. J.D. Vance going on The View, certainly courageous, charming guy. But you tell me what's inhuman. You tell me what's covered up, what's extreme. Extreme to have children unaccompanied. Extreme to let them in. Extreme to give them to human traffickers. Extreme to do all of these other crazy things. And yet, here we have our man Heath. Heath's a good dude. This is what he focuses in on. And this is where the liberals, see, if I were the libs and I were a progressive person, why not focus in on the border crisis? The crisis of people coming to America and being promised one thing and given something else, or the slavery that continues to go on. There are so many issues that are really, really, really not covered. And again, you go back to this. I'm going to focus in on the extremism. What about the extremism in Dearborn, Michigan? Are they tolerant of people that aren't of a certain faith? Because in America, you're supposed to be. In America, you're supposed to be. But again, it shows you the bias. And to me, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I hope and pray that we finally get some real-life reporting. Oh, no, you're called an extremist if you do that. You take a look at our local media, and I love bringing this up, where we had this Wilder raid. And then we had people suing the government, and we had people that were arrested. And people go, oh, it's just like going to the carnival. Is it appropriate for people to go watch illegal activity? Oh, it's just part of the culture. Is it? Well, then it's part of the culture, other people's culture too. It's like that quarterback. He gambled on games, but now he's a victim. And now he's going to go to the NFL and make a lot of money, even though he broke the rules. Whether we want to blame the moral relativism of the 60s or the post-pandemic, who gives a rip, digital smidgenal things that we have, rules are rules, except when it comes to the liberals, except when it comes to certain groups. Other news, it didn't take long. We covered this on our website, KIDOtalkradio.com. The Ada County commissioners have done a couple things. They said, A, they need money, and B, they've banned fireworks in the unincorporated areas of Ada County. They do this every year. They've done it 10 years in a row. And one of the things that we write about as well, one of the most ridiculous things, and this is one of the more unpopular views that I have, but it's the smart view. We are in a drought season, a historic drought season. We are talking water shortages, and hopefully not drinking water shortages, and not to be hyperbolic, but we're talking about watering the lawn, watering the plants, watering the crops. In fact, a lot of farmers are giving up the fields because they can't water them. This is a big deal. Okay? What are we doing to address it? Well, the governor says we're ready for the wildfires. Tina Kotek says she doesn't know what she's doing. Well, she says she's declared Oregon a state of emergency. I've been here a few years. I think the worst year I remember was a couple of years when Oregon was on fire. Myself, my family, the listening audience, we would go to the Oregon coast, and we would go there, and the wildfire was there. and it was crazy. And the wildfire was going crazy. And when I'm sitting there in the Oregon coast, literally I'm watching the highway, half the highway burn as we're driving to there and coming back there. And then you're worried about getting stuck because they won't let you drive through the flames. And then a couple years ago, I think all the reporters now are gone from Channel 7. You had the young girl, and I believe with the cameraman, that were stuck in a town because the highways were shut off. Now, people east of the Great River that listen on the stream or the podcast or what have you, or they spy on us, and they want to make sure that the burn notice on Kevin Miller continues, you would find that very troubling. But here in the West, not a lot of people. Here in the West, not as much infrastructure. You close things down. Very similar to what happens in Minnesota or Ohio or wherever else when they actually have more snow than the highways can handle. They close it down. Again, you think to yourself, it's just a fire. No, in the West, it's a way of life. So the Ada County commissioners, by the way, you're welcome to comment at 580-5436, did the right thing. They have said no fireworks in unincorporated areas of Ada County. Now, we know what's going to happen. There are people that make a lot of money. We'll just call them Big Willie. And if there's a real Big Willie, we apologize to Big Willie, but Big Willie's fireworks. And Big Willie spends a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of work getting Big Willie's fireworks. And Big Willie's fireworks is Big Willie. And sometimes Big Willie will live in the tent or stay, 12 hours a day in the tent selling fireworks. And then he has a little camper outside, and he'll live there for a month. You see this in Star, Idaho, in Kuna, Idaho. You see them at the Albertsons parking lots. You can go buy your fireworks and blow things up. But as we all know, state law says you can't fire aerial fireworks. So you sign an affidavit saying, I'm going to be a good person. And yet we see people using the fireworks, much to the chagrin of curmudgeon Kevin Miller, living in his cul-de-sac of comfort, where he's just sitting there watching the fireworks go up. You can't sleep. Your dogs go crazy. The Humane Society goes crazy. The West Valley Humane Society, the Lake Lowell Animal Shelter, everybody goes nuts. You're worried about losing your dogs and cats because of the craziness. It is crazy. It is something that could be avoidable. But again, the state doesn't enforce it, and we don't really have enough people to do this. And if you went to the sheriff's office, if you went to the Canyon County Sheriff's Office, if you went to the police department, you would have to arrest everyone. So we live with this potential wildfire, house fires that happen every 4th of July. This year is going to be, again, a lot more challenging because we have the fire threat, because we have this threat of everything is dry. And I don't know about you, but my lawn's already burning out. Well, maybe you need to work on your sprinklers. Thank you, Pat, not from Middleton. However, we're used to a certain way of life. It didn't happen. I was talking to the insect guy yesterday. Caught the insect guy. He was on his phone. I go, hey, man. Oh, hey, I got these wasps flying around. Well, Kevin Miller, you might have those because we didn't have a winter. You didn't have a winter? Yeah. Well, what's that have to do with the insects? Because they didn't die. So there's more of them. There's more spiders. There's more this. There's more that. I was talking to Mrs. Miller. She goes, yeah, didn't you know that? I go, no, I didn't know that. So thank you. So here we have the fireworks. And again, I think it's just, we have multiple fireworks shows. Our friend David Ferdinand yesterday talking about God and Country, where people were there having a good time. It's a free show. The Boise fireworks, Star fireworks, Kuna fireworks. Everybody has fireworks. Meridian fireworks, I believe. But people want to blow things up. So we have to deal with the consequences. Again, Ada County commissioners voting 2-1. Ryan Davidson voting against the ban because of his libertarian vibe. That's just Ryan. 2-1 to ban the use of fireworks. We have that story in our, again, not everywhere, but in unincorporated Ada County. And if you really look at the law, you're not supposed to be blowing things up anyway. That story and more on our website, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, though, a couple of things. What happens if you take a look at the world that we live in and the Iranian deal? And what happens if President Trump is right, but the liberals get their way? What does that mean for us? And let me give you a phrase and answer this question. Have you forgotten? Have we forgotten? Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. And I'm talking about the Iranian deal. Now, many people have criticized it, even though nobody has seen it. I know, only in America. We have the president talking to foreign leaders, saying, continuing this vow that Iran never should have a nuclear weapon. He's right about that. Is he not?
I'll be doing a news conference at about 4 o'clock today. Before we leave, we're going to Paris. And then we'll be going home tonight, I guess, if you really figure it. So we'll be heading to Paris, where we have a big dinner meeting with a lot of the same people. And then we're going home. And it's been a very successful trip. A lot of things have happened that have been very good. We'll be discussing a little bit about the deal with Iran at the 4 o'clock news conference. It's a great deal for a lot of reasons, but number one, by far, 99.9% is they will never have a nuclear weapon, and you can't give Iran a nuclear weapon, and they will never have a nuclear weapon, so that's very, very strong. It's a very strong deal. Nobody knows what it is, but it's very strong, and most people seem to be very happy. Who's really happy is the market, because the market's gone up thousands of points over the last 4 or 5 days since hearing about it. And the Strait is going to be opening. It's already partially opened. It's going to be opening up soon in full over the next day or two. And the market has gone wild, and oil has come tumbling down. Oil is at $73 or $74, and it's getting to very close to where it was before the crisis. The difference is now we have Iran without a nuclear weapon. So we'll see how that all plays out. I think people are going to be very happy. But there's nothing so smart as the market, and the market loves it beyond anything that I've actually seen. Again, the stock market has gone through the roof, and oil has come tumbling down. I guess it's in the low 70s now, right?
That's right.
That's amazing. So that's...
There we have the President of the United States at 580 KIDO, Kevin Miller with you. I take a look at what the President's saying, and really, this is the last chance for world peace. The last chance for world peace. People are going to go, well, Kevin Miller, the libs say that the Obama deal where Obama bribed him was better. No, it wasn't, because they continue to do this. My dad the other day, he was talking about the Russians and the Chinese continue to funnel money into the Iranians, funnel weapons into the Iranians. Do you think that they were able to survive on their own? Of course not. And the tragedy of what we're living in, the tragedy of where we are, dear friend, and I'm going to be the lone voice on this, is that the president did the right thing. Now, the problem with the president is the president has been right. And I go back to an old axiom that a friend of mine told me years and years ago, and I still struggle with it. Maybe you struggle with it. Have you ever wanted to prove a point no matter what? Have you ever wanted to prove a point so much that you didn't care about the cost? And some of us have lost our jobs over it. Some of us have lost friends over it because we wanted to be right. And maybe a therapist can break this down for us. We always want to be right, and of principle, and of fairness. And we teach our children about being fair and about the values and everything else. And then we find out we live in a subjective world. Now, President Trump is a lot of things. He's not perfect, as we're finding out. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, back to the phrase I used before, have we forgotten? Have we forgotten what happened almost 25 years ago? 25 years ago this September. Kevin, I wasn't born then. Kevin, it's, whatever, George Bush's fault, Bill Clinton's fault, Obama's fault. Could you imagine if that were a nuclear weapon? People in law enforcement will tell you they have faced extraordinary threats. People in the military have faced extraordinary threats. People that are first responders have faced extraordinary threats. And when you have that killer looking at you, when you have that person who is all heck bent on destroying everything. And sooner or later, they're going to do that. Maybe it's somebody that's addicted to gambling. Maybe it's a spouse. And sometimes in life and business and friendship, it's either them or us. You can't save them both. You got to save yourself first, don't you? As I was talking to somebody the other day, my friend Matt, he said, it's the old airplane theory. I got to save myself. You're right. And so here we have the president rightfully calling out NATO. They didn't like it. The president rightfully calling out everybody else. They didn't like it. He was right. But then when we needed them, we didn't get any buy-in. I mean, the fact that we have a First Amendment in this country where people are free to openly lie about this war and say that it was a worthless war and that it was a horrific war and everything else because they don't like the man, they don't like the policies, they don't like America. We took them down with 13 lives were horrifically lost. And 13 lives is way too many. But in comparison to what people war game that out to be, and one of the reasons why we are in this situation, I believe, that hasn't been reported, and I will give you my opinion, unfiltered, uncensored, is that I do believe that we gave a lot of stuff to Ukraine, and we gave too much away, and the stockpiles ain't what they used to be. Why do I know that? Because the liberal media tells me that again and again and again. And, once you reach a certain level, and oil levels, they're low. So the president cut a deal. Now people are talking about the Iranians are going to be more powerful. The mullahs run. The Wall Street Journal, the almighty Wall Street Journal says America's in retreat. Well, what would you do, Wall Street? You had a chance to take them out. Public opinion in this company, political opposition in this country, the lack of buy-in from the Europeans. And we'll talk to Jonathan Savage about this. We'll hold him accountable coming up. No more World Cup propaganda here, buddy. And you were right. But the midterms, the shifting political winds, J.D. Vance, the president, Marco Rubio, you had to cut a deal. But what happens, and I hope that I'm wrong, because I don't want to use the old Rush Limbaugh line, see, I told you so. You have people that say they want to kill us. They get a nuclear weapon. They either detonate in this country or they fire a missile and it hits Seattle or New York. Is everybody going to say, Donald Trump was right about that the whole time? Probably not. Probably not. Sadly. Troubling and sad. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Window World Boise. Hey, now is the time to get those windows done. Great warranty, very affordable, locally owned, veteran-owned. WindowWorldBoise.com. I highly, highly, highly recommend them. They do outstanding work, hard-working guys. And I found, as someone who dabbles in home improvement, very dabbling, that you have, window companies, there's two words they love to use, markup. My experience with Window World Boise, not at all. Not at all. Check them out today. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. All right, let's get you to work safely and on time. Very, very soon when we give you the cue to call between now and 6:50.
I talk about it all the time. I mean, I've literally seen Biden when he was doing his State of the Union. He was in the middle of the speech. And then he said, let me talk a little bit about climate. I said, about climate? What about pollution? Why wouldn't you want to talk about pollution? So to me, the 3 minutes or 4 minutes he talked about climate, to me was a total waste. But here he has the whole world watching.
Oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger. If only he were born in America, could have been president, possibly. Let's go to the phones. And yes, it's time for him. Is he appealing, alluring, or annoying? Al in Ontario on 580 KIDO.
Good morning. First of all, let me tell you, the Kevin Miller Show is so much different than podcasts. And the reason is because there's dialogue. Okay, Kevin, I don't really know any other place where there's dialogue. Anywhere. Only the Kevin Miller Show. So it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about the platform that you basically refined here. Okay, where there is a certain democratization of the First Amendment. That's really what counts. You see, Al from Ontario can call up Kevin and say, Kevin, you're goofy. And you listen. And then you'll say that I'm goofy. I don't listen. I respond. and I respond.
Good for you. Yeah, good for you.
But that's called the Socratic dialectic, right? That's what it's all about. I mean, this is about human beings. Okay, where is this? What podcast do you have this? It doesn't exist. Okay, this is truly like the democratization of the First Amendment. It's like, maybe, who knows, maybe Socrates would be down in Athens arguing, with Thrasymachus or Thraximachus, however you want to say it. And they'd be going at it, right? But that's the way, Kevin, it's through dialogue. It's all about dialogue. Dialogue is how you solve problems. It's not easy. It's a lot of back and forth where minds are changed and ideas are refined and all of this. It's a huge deal. It's education, really. Okay, and that doesn't exist anywhere else. Okay, so that is really, you've refined this kind of platform that I've never seen anywhere in my life. And I'm a boomer. Okay, so that's what's happening there. Okay, so when Dylan asks some goofy question like you always ask all the time of me, you did, but then you stopped, okay, saying, oh, well, what's the solution? Okay, the solution is dialogue. That's what the solution is. Because what really has to happen is we need truth seekers out there asking the difficult question that nobody wants to answer. Nobody wants to answer these questions truthfully. Because guess what? Everybody has a pecuniary interest in how these questions are answered. So nobody wants to listen to real answers, right? And so getting on to extremism, there was the greatest quote on extremism. Of course, extremism in defense of liberty is no vice, and moderation in pursuit of justice is no virtue, right? Moderation in pursuit of justice is no virtue. And extremism in defense of liberty is no vice. And of course, that was the great Barry Goldwater who said that. And,
And look what happened to him.
Well, that's true. But nonetheless, you could say that his thinking and his way of doing things was transcribed over to Ronald Reagan.
Hold on. Let me hit you with this, though. Let me come back to you. What about my original premise that what happened, sadly, if President Trump was right? And because we have the loons, we have the media, we have everybody else hating him and hating you and hating me, that we have September 11th doubled or tripled, sir?
Well, look, Kevin, of course, that is the whole problem. Look, one of the things that there's certain things that I've been really, really interested in decades because I like to get down to the crux of the matter. And one of them is biological terrorism. Okay. And, people don't understand this at all. Okay. It's the poor man's nuke. And so, yes, obviously, this is something when you don't have borders and you just let people stream in. OK, they don't understand what this could actually, end up with. OK, it could be something unbelievably destructive. Okay, but what we have to understand is this, Kevin. Most people, and here again, too, they don't have the education. They haven't engaged in dialogue, right? You have to engage in dialogue. And this is why our schools, right? This is why our schools, when you say, what's the solution? The solution is our schools need to have people talk, ask questions back and forth. Kevin, the other day when when Tea Party Bob talked about, de Tocqueville. Kevin, I pulled out my Democracy in America, and my mind goes off in all kinds of directions with that. Okay, that's what dialogue does. Okay, then I start thinking, okay, well, we got de Tocqueville, he's from France. We have Frederick Bastiat, he's from France, the great thinkers. The law, my books that I have, the fact that you get our great founding fathers, and the Federalist Papers, you get Bastiat, you get de Tocqueville. They all looked at Rome. They all looked at ancient civilizations. Okay, they all tried to understand. They all tried to understand, what happened? How did these things happen? The collapse. This is what we need to do. And if we don't understand that you get collapse from inside, go back to Troy, right? The Battle of Troy. They were done in from inside. Okay, I mean, we need the education, because the only way we understand the human condition, really, is through the analogy, right? For human beings. We understand non-living things through math, but we understand living things through analogies of history. And you go back and you look how biological weapons were tossed over the walls. They took the bodies that were, full of disease, right? And then they used catapults to throw them over the walls. Okay, look, we need to have borders. We need to have customs and traditions. And unfortunately, what's happening here with calling everybody extremists, look, Kevin, like I said before, I don't know people who are judging people by, immutable characteristics. I don't know those people. I've never known those people. What they do is they go and dig these people up somewhere, and they make things up about them, because what it does is it pushes their narrative forward. It pushes their collectivist, socialist, loser narrative forward.
But the troubling part about it is, Al, that it's our national security. Al, thank you for the call. Very relevant points by Al. Why don't we do this? Caller 10 at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're going to win tickets, that family 4-pack to the Boise Music Festival. I was just talking to one of our architects behind this, and I like to, and this is a compliment, our boss, Mike Owens Promotions. I say that as an ode to Ric Flair, who used to call Jim Crockett Promotions. But I was talking to some of the people behind the scenes working with Mike, and, getting the logistics for Marshmello, Sean Paul, Everclear, Julia, K-pop, all these people coming in. It takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of effort. So I do want to thank everyone who is coming. I want to thank our sponsors. And you can always tell when the Godless Corporation tells me to do something, because I'm going to go, well, no. This is from the heart. And if you don't appreciate things, years ago, I opened up for Johnny Mathis, the legend. And I go, Johnny. And he goes, little boy. And that was okay for me. And I didn't appreciate that. But I do appreciate our 580-KIDO audience, our artist, Everclear. It's going to be big. We want you to go. Caller 10 right now. But imagine Expo Idaho, once again, transformed. You're going to have the carnival. You're going to have all the small business people. I don't know if you follow this guy, the Corner Office on X. This is this crazy guy. He used to live in Utah. Crazy in a good way. A lot of similarities with us geographically, with me personally. He lived in Utah. He moved to Texas. He, I think, went to school in Alabama. But he interviews people about their businesses. And he's one of these guys, like, he'll see a couch and he'll buy and flip couches. It's fascinating content, because he's so passionate promoting other people. But when and we were talking about this with Mitch from the chamber, to go in and run these booths and these businesses, and the drumstick people. It's a good way to get away from things. By the way, congratulations to Lee. We appreciate that. Appreciate you calling in, and hope you have a great time. And if you see me running around looking like a blueberry, please say hi to the blueberry. But again, it's a great event. We want you to be a part of it. We want to thank again the people at Expo Idaho, the commissioners, and all sorts of things that for allowing us to do it. Because again, the older you get, the more you realize that people give you opportunities. And you earn opportunities. I understand that, but thank you very much. And again, keep it here for your chance to win tickets to the music festival. I will be at Walmart's coming up this weekend. We'll tell you about that. We're going to be at area Walmart's, thanks to our friends at Coca-Cola, giving away tickets to the Boise Music Festival as well. Boise and Meridian locations, I believe. We have those for you. We'll give those that. We'll make that announcement coming up. But we're on the road to the Boise Music Festival, or as we like to call it, BMF. Phone numbers here, 580-5436. Back to my original premise, though, is here we have the president has taken down the Iranians, and all we have is the fake news people saying it's a bad move. What about what happened during the Obama and Biden administrations? Did Republicans say they hate America?
Over national pride continues to grow. A new NBC poll finds just 29% of Democrats say they're extremely or very proud to be American, compared to 90% of Republicans. Dana, when I saw this, I was like, I'm going to dig into this. Mexico ranked number 14, Senegal number 15. We were ranked number 17. They're not from any of those places.
Right.
Why do you think this happened?
Why do I think they do? Because I think that they made a conscious choice to not be for America. I mean, you can say, I'm for America, and you hope that they do well.
And I love this team.
Chances of them moving on to the round of 16, slim, but look, they played very well the other night. Great. Like, you could just say, I'm for America, but if America doesn't go forward, let's go Senegal or whatever it is. But that's not what they wanted to do. They deliberately made sure that you and everybody here knew that they would never say that they are for America.
Jesse, it seemed like a bit of a mistake when you're in the midst of a heated primary to say that you are not for the homeland.
Blanche has to bring charges immediately. This is probably aiding and abetting. I consider it a deportable offense. You cannot be that Benedict Arnold, Jessica. I mean, come on. If they're not for America, are they for Senegal on trade? Are they rooting for Iran against epic fury?
Well, you say
where does this stop? This is the root of all evil in this country. It's subversive. Bring back McCarthyism. That is the only answer for this.
Okay. What do you make, and some of it is obviously partisan, that, you know, when your party's out of power, you have, you know, less pride in the country. But what do you make of this huge drop-off?
So Jessica, I don't think that's right. Why does that need to be true that if your party's out of power, you should have less pride in your country? Like, I guarantee that when Barack Obama was president or Joe Biden was pretending to be president, that you had Republicans who still said they're proud of America. They're proud of our military. They're proud of the great people of our country. They're proud of our natural beauty. Like it says, I think 29% of Americans or of Democrats are proud of their country. I assume that includes you, even though you disagree with the present administration. So what seems to me so bizarre about this is that we've allowed a culture to develop where people feel like the country is the country's politics.
More on that in a minute. Brilliant guy. Very, very different vibe, if you will. But we're all proud to be Americans. Why aren't the Democrats? Sean Hannity today at 1, 580 KIDO. The topic this hour is President Trump is right. And we hope that he's wrong, because if he's right, there's going to be a nuclear attack on America. And those of us that are left, are we going to blame President Trump? No, because he did the right thing. Let's go to Blair in Boise with Kevin Miller on 580 KIDO. Hello, Blair. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Not bad. As we roll on, always great to be on the air with you.
Well, thank you. Hey, that poll that you just cited, it is indicative of how people understand the country and what we represent, and most especially the principles. Right? You have conflicting principles in the world right now that are very stark. You have the principles of freedom, and then you have the principles of socialism, and they're not the same. And unfortunately, we have one political party in the United States which dominates most of the rest of the world, and they do not like freedom. They want control. They want control over everything that you do. They want to put a very select few people in control and have everybody else be their servants. That's what socialism is. If you look at any socialist movement that's ever been put into play, what do you get? Well, you get a dictator with a few of his cronies running everything, whether that's Mao or Stalin or Fidel Castro or, Keir Starmer. That's what you have. So, the people that think that they're not proud of this country and the history of this country, I would invite them to go back and read the true history of this country. Read what we fought for to gain our independence from what? Oh, from a king, from a person who, with a few of his advisors wanted to run everything and tell us what we had to do. We have the greatest land, the greatest country in the world, a place where people can create businesses. They can be entrepreneurs. They can do whatever they want. They can pursue their own happiness. And the rest of the world wants to tear that down. And I just invite people to choose freedom.
Yes, well, but what do you make of the whole, as J.D. Vance said, they're against America because they are against that political party?
Well, you have to, this goes back to religion and a lot of things, right? There's been a fight going on between the principles of freedom and the principles of enslavement since this world was created. It really gets down to that. You have to figure out who you want to serve. Do you want to serve God or do you want to serve the devil? And it's an offshoot of that. And they'll say that they don't believe in religion, but that's really what it's about. There's do we want to participate in freedom and choose for ourselves what we're going to be, or do we want to, have other people running the show for us? Because there's lots of people that are going to volunteer to tell us what we need to do. But there's only one source, and that would be our Father in heaven, who really cares about us, wants to see us progress, wants to see us, learn and grow and be all that we can be. And everything else is about, destruction and holding us back from what we can be. So for the people who just want to criticize and don't have anything else to offer, you ought to take a really jaundiced view of that. You ought to say, well, why can't you be creative? Why can't you come up with something that's going to make people better? If the only thing you can do is tear down, why do I want to listen to you at all? Who wants to be around somebody that all they are is a negative Nancy the whole day? That's not the kind of person I want to be around. It's not the kind of person I want to be. It's one of the reasons I love listening to your show is you're positive. You encourage, people to come on, share their minds, and you encourage the best in people. That's the kind of people that I like being around. So,
Blair, we're going to try to live up to that. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. Have a great morning, Kevin.
Appreciate it. Blair made our morning there. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, we're going to have a gentleman who is beloved by the community, and he's written a book on his experiences, how to come back. Big Don will join us as well. Jonathan Savage, plus your chance to win tickets to the Boise Music Festival. And again, we'll have Dave Petso will be along with his Dave Petso segment. Crazy, all of a sudden, I love this. It's crazy. It's predictable, right? The war is over. The stock market goes up. Is that healthy? Let's hope so. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. Pained the draft agreement. Iran reiterates it will never produce a nuclear weapon. No details on the Iranians' commitments on highly enriched uranium stockpiles. Again, they're supposed to dilute that. Iran could get $300 billion if they're good Iranians, and America to immediately issue sanction waivers for Iranian oil sales. So the president's saying if they're bad Iranians, the pain is coming back. Joining us now, the author From River Bottoms to Rock Bottom and Back, Don Lineberry. Don, great to have you with us.
Good morning, Kevin. I'm not used to not sitting across from you like I have for the last 10 years. So I appreciate you inviting me in today.
Well, we appreciate that. We'll talk about your book. We'll talk about you. But, Don, people see at the Boise Rescue Mission. What drove you to write a book?
Where I could continue my work from here at the Boise Rescue Mission. I'm 69 now and trying to retire, but the Rev says I'll retire when the Lord tells me to. But I'd like to continue the work I do with the vets and helping them out and showing them there's a hand up, not a handout in this community.
Well, Don, let's talk about the book then. We'll hit you again. Let's talk about the book. And I mean, everybody dreams of doing this, and then all of a sudden you're doing it. You're doing your media tour. You're working at the mission. You've dedicated your life to helping others. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, I wrote papers through the years, and after I started stacking them up and going through them, I started getting a lot of encouragement to put my story out there. Of course, you've heard it quite a few times on the radio during our rescue mission events with you, and I just had to get it out there again. There's another way. It leaves me a legacy. It gives me a platform to continue the work I do with the vets and helping vets out, and then others in the community that are needful. So I put all my papers together, wrote a big outline, and started inserting the events, the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows. And lo and behold, I came up with enough material to put it out there as a memoir.
Boy, that's easier said than done. Were you worried that you've... yeah.
There's a lot more than just putting words on a paper.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, if the book is going to be really, really big, you have to get very personal, and it's very easy to do that. But when you see the words in print, and it's about, again, the bottoms, up and back, when you're reading about somebody else, it's inspiring. When you're reading about yourself, well, how is it?
Well, it's very personal. Now, I've been practicing this. This is what I do. I sit across from vets here at the Boise Rescue Mission and listen to their story. And to put them at ease, I just tell them, I've been there, done that. Let me tell you how I got here. I got to the Boise Rescue Mission from a jailhouse van 11 years ago, coming in from Twin Falls, 800 block, after being found living in my car over at the Walmart parking lot. And I'll just give you a brief synopsis of how I ended up there. I'm the son of a Methodist minister. We ended up in Emmett after 69 when the family moved up here during the race riots. And from there, I started taking the wrong road and going to the wrong side of the tracks. And from there, I went to the Army, the military. That gave me the structure I needed between family, church, and the military. When I got out, I'd lost all that structure. And that's what we're finding out with a lot of vet issues these days, is that lack of structure and that loss of structure that they've come across when they leave the military. Unfortunately, I'm one of the few that turned to the bottle. I did it in the military. I did it when I left the military. And then drugs take effect. And then I went through 25 years of truck driving, and I lost that because of the bottle. And ended up in my car in a Walmart parking lot with a container of dope on the dash and a half gallon of vodka on the seat. There was some high-speed chases that went on. There was some drug arrests that went on. There were some highs and some lows and a couple of broken marriages. So along the way, I hurt people. I hurt people around me. Once I found the Boise Rescue Mission, about 1 month into it, I decided to just turn around and ask the Lord, what do you want of me? Because I was always afraid to ask and find out what he wanted of me. And I was told just to follow me. Just follow. Well, I did, and here I am today. I've met you. I've met wonderful people in the community. They support me. They support my work. Helping vets now. I volunteer at the Idaho State Veterans Home. I'm a director of American Legion Riders of Treasure Valley. I ride my motorcycle Lucy around all over the country. Go ahead.
You do, don't you?
Yes,
You're crazy.
I do. Me and Janet went to Sturgis last year. Fought the high winds of South Dakota for a full day.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute, Don. Don. Right here at 580 KIDO, from river bottoms to rock bottom and back, your book. You're talking about a life of debauchery, and then you and your beautiful wife go to Sturgis. What were you thinking? I would be afraid. I watched that show, you know, the biker shows and all that. Those people scare me.
Well, no, we're not all like that. That's the 1%ers, as they said back in I believe it was 1940, when a congressman said only 1% of the motorcyclists cause 90% of the problems you hear about, and that's why you see on motorcycle vests 1%ers. They're proclaiming their rebellion against society. Well.
Now, wait a minute. I've seen that show, Full Throttle Saloon. I know what goes on in Sturgis.
She didn't let me go in there. we sit around and lounged in great big inflatable swimming pools. She had a couple of toddies during the day. I worked on my motorcycle, shined it, and showed it off. So for a lot of us gearheads, it was mostly the motorcycles. For the rubs, as we call them, rich urban bikers that just get their motorcycles out once a month and put on their leathers and wear them around all day. I don't know why. They had quite a party, but a lot of us gearheads just shined our bikes up and worked on them. Really enjoyable. Went to see Mount Rushmore, went to see the Black Hills, went to Jackson Hole on the way back. Just seen some beautiful country. It was worth it.
What was Mount Rushmore like in person?
As amazing as you hear about. It's quite the developed tourist trap. But once you get out of the park, get up there, get out of the parking lot, the crowded parking lot, and go through the arches, and then there's the big causeway that leads up to the foot of Mount Rushmore. It's everything it's portrayed to be. It does the president's justice.
Don, let's talk a little bit about the lessons that you write in From River Bottoms to Rock Bottom and Back, available on Amazon and anywhere else you get your books. How small cracks in life can turn into life-altering collapses, and how to stop that cycle before it's too late.
You need people around you that aren't going to turn their backs on you, because everyone has those small cracks, and it's up to us to jump over them, have support, family. You know, the family structure, and I've heard you talk about this numerous times, the family structure in America is hurting right now. And God bless Idaho and our community here. If you don't have family and support and people that'll stand by you, you can't jump over them cracks. You need a hand to help you over a lot of them cracks. And with family and support, sons that stuck by me through my darkest days. My youngest, I'll go ahead and put this out here. When my dad passed away, I was in 800 block in Twin Falls County Jail, and he had passed away of another heart surgery. And I was released for the day to go to the funeral. And I was turned over to my son to escort me with an ankle bracelet. And we went to the gravesite, and it was a beautiful thing with me and my son. He's always had my back. I have a stepson that holds high position here in the state in law enforcement. He's always had my back. He is exemplary at what we want our law enforcement to be. And so I raised good sons. I have another one that's full-time in, another stepson that's full-time in Idaho National Guard. They're all just really good boys. You always want your kids to do better than yourself, and mine have. Luckily, I did teach them family values and work ethics. And the rest of the time I was out truck driving and staying out of trouble.
Well, that's so important, Don. Let's continue on here. What would you like to share with people right now on rebuilding trust with those you love and those you've disappointed?
That would be through service. I do mine through community service. I look at my recovery program, which I went through a 1-year program here at the Boise Rescue Mission, the New Life program. I was with it a year, and then they hired me right out of the program. I ended up being a senior case manager here in the Veterans program. But my recovery program is a tool bag. It's not my total program. And so in that tool bag, I have to put tools in it. And my tools is service. Idaho State Veterans Home, volunteer, Boise Rescue Mission, my work, my motorcycle, my family. All these together fill up my tool bag of recovery. So I would ask anybody to quit looking in for their problems and look out to the problems and help out. We're all in this together. I put that in everything I write. We're all in this together. And if we can support each other, maybe there won't be so many fall through the cracks, because there will be somebody there to guide them and get them that hand to jump over.
Don, what are the challenges that you see for veterans in Idaho and across the country? On one hand, you all do such amazing things, and then you come back to the civilian world, which for most of us is nowhere near as difficult as the military, yet people struggle. And not to be accusatory, but you've been on every side of it. You continue to be passionate. You continue to help folks. What do you make of that? What can people do to help?
When we leave the military, we lose that structure. The vets themselves, and Idaho has done all they can and should for the vet, as far as providing resources with knowledgeable, caring people. We have the medical center up here, which is one of the best ones in the country. We have Veterans Outreach. We have Joining Forces, which combines all the veteran resources groups together in one. And matter of fact, I presented last week to them and presented about the Veterans Ministry Program and my book. Fortunately, Mitzi asked me to present that. But we provide it all for the vet. Unfortunately, we come out of the military pretty prideful. Look what I've just accomplished. No, I don't need help. Well, you do. So I believe a lot of veterans just need to swallow their pride. Hopefully they have family around to point them, and people like you and me to point them in the direction of the resources to get them through their troubles, get them back on track, showing them that light at the end of the tunnel is not a freight train coming at them. Because a lot of us feel that way after we get to one of our bottoms, because when you're in substance abuse, active substance abuse and alcoholism, there continues to be bottom after bottom after bottom. And personally, I look at it, my next bottom will be 6 feet under. I'm 69. I don't have another run in me. That's unfortunate. But now, through 11 years of sobriety, I've been able to reach out to the community, to the vets, and show them that there's light at the end of the tunnel, to show them that there are resources, to direct them to them resources. And it's all in the book. Let me tell you a little bit about the book. Besides my story, which is pretty fascinating. I mean, I'm amazed myself that I'm on the other end of the tunnel. At the end of each chapter is a buddy note, which directly talks to the reader. Hopefully it's a vet in need. Possibly it could just be somebody interested in the problems of the of veterans and substance abuse. At the end of every chapter is a buddy note talking to them. And then the last probably 20% of the book is Idaho resources and studies of homelessness in Idaho. And they're factual studies that have been done every spring. We do, I've been involved in the homeless population studies. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I can't think of the name of the two studies. I'm sorry. Anyway, it's all fact. It's down there. 8% of the homeless in Idaho are vets. That doesn't sound like much, but when you talk about 200 people, that's 16 guys or 16 women. We don't talk enough about the women vets as struggling here in Idaho. The Boise Rescue Mission does have a veterans program for the women also. So the resources are there. The vets just need to swallow their pride and reach out.
Don, finally, what's going on, and we'll have you back, what's going on throughout the summer with the rescue mission? How goes the crusade?
Oh, we're just kicking butt and taking names. We've got 17 vets going through our program here. We've revamped the program upstairs after our big physical remodel last year that was provided by the community. We do a Circle of Health. That is Nate, our new manager, has went through facilitator training there. It's a whole health program, Circle of Health, and it addresses the vet, self-care, professional care, community, and things like physical ed, food and drink, their nourishment, their diets, the relationships, how to relax and heal. And it covers the whole gamut. It's not always just physical health or substance abuse that brings you to the Boise Rescue Mission. It's the whole vet. Also, we got all our events coming up, fundraising events to let the community know what our programs are. And if we don't have a program to help a segment of the community out, by golly, we'll put one together. And it works. Reverend Roscoe and the board and our leadership are always in tune to all the needs of the community.
Don, finally, and the next time I see you, I just bought your book on Amazon.
Thank you.
A portion of the well, look, we support one another. A portion of the proceeds go to the Boise Rescue Mission. Why?
Because they supported me. They brought me through my darkest hour. $1 of every book sold goes to the Boise Rescue Mission. We also have in the book, and all our postings and publicity come out telling about that. And it works. Our programs work, and they deserve all the help from the community they get, and they do get it. This community can be darn proud of what they do for their vets and for their homeless. Matter of fact, and you've heard me say this before, we take so good care of our homeless in the Boise Valley. A lot of people don't realize that the need is there, but it is there. So think about us.
Well, I just got my order in from River Bottoms to Rock Bottom and back. Veterans, Memory of Addiction, Accountability, and Redemption. I'm just glad I could pronounce all those words correctly. Don, we will have you back. God bless you, old friend. And you know how we end this. Roll Tide Roll.
Roll Tide Roll. We're going to do it. I think it's May. I forget what the scheduling. Oh, Tuscaloosa. We play in Tuscaloosa first game.
My man. God bless you, Don.
Take care, my friend. I appreciate you so much.
All right, there we have it. A veteran's memoir of addiction, accountability, and redemption on Amazon. Don Lindberry, check him out today. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Don Lindberry, check him out. And if you type in his name, you will see it right there on Amazon, right at the top. So thank you, Don, for doing that. I know Don talking about his legacy, but to be able to put the words in that, we were just running a spot for Dr. Eric Lyle in Peak Health, Idaho. it's one thing, and the reason why I asked Don about writing and putting this into something that's there forever, I've told you about my weight loss, and before I met Dr. Lyle, we're down 121. And I pitched this idea to Dr. Lyle. And remember, years ago, Tommy Alquist, Kristen Armstrong, Poley, we were going to put this together, and the pandemic happened. And that's where I discovered, got some heart issues and such, which is never fun. And I thought instead of doing the boneheaded thing that we would do this medically. And Dr. Lyle at Peak Health Idaho, they can help you with your body fat, with your health, with your VO2 max. If you've ever read the wellness and longevity studies and you'd like to be a part of that, like to live longer, to be proactive with your health, that's where Dr. Lyle comes in. And whether it's Sean or Beverly or Dr. Lyle or the great staff there, Kristen, they do an outstanding job. So a week ago, and I have my boy Rome documenting this on the videos, and I said these videos are going to be insane, and I've gotten the proofs of 3 or 4 of them. And there's something to be said when you actually see, and in Don's case, see the written word, or in my case, the videos of what we have ahead of us, and to put yourself out there. So props to Don for doing that. And yes, we're going through the proofs of the video. Kevin, what do you mean? Why don't you just put it in CapCut, SmapCut, and go? Because I want to make sure that everything is ready to go on this. So again, just to let you know, 121, 122. Every Sunday I weigh myself. Even when I'm on vacation, I will. But we're going to do this to show people. And again, there's no Ozempic. Not that there's anything wrong with that, or Wegovy. There's nothing. It's just about loving yourself. And I'm still struggling with that and still learning about that. So again, props to Don. And $1 of those proceeds go to the Boise Rescue Commission. Do want to remind you, caller 10 this hour will give you that the family 4-pack to the Boise Music Festival. Very fired up about this year. It's funny when you have to want to. Our staff puts this together. Our staff works it. One of the reasons why we're allowed to do this is the dedication of the great staff here at the Godless Corporation, the local affiliate of the Godless Corporation, and that's through, our leadership team. And, they'll have to coax me. Come on, Kevin, let's go. And now we're in full Boise Music Festival mode. And really what inspires me is when Tea Party Bob or Patriot Ray or others say, hey, man, I need to win some tickets. Well, listen to the program. You're going to win tickets. And I can remember Terry from State College, Pennsylvania, and I hope Terry, God bless him, is still with us. But he and his beautiful wife, Vanessa, they would go. And I'm going, dude, this isn't your music. I love the experience, Kevin Miller. It's one of those things that brings the community together, like the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. It brings the community together. And unlike Google, Schmoogle, and Boogle, it's free. You just have to win tickets. As I said, we're going to be in Nampa. We're going to be in Meridian and Boise this weekend at Walmart's. We'll let you know tomorrow as we give you the blitz on where we're going to be. Coming up, saying you're sorry and really making the most of it. I don't think that we've ever seen anybody like our vice president. We'll explain that next. Let's get you to work safely and on time. But it's very interesting to see the skills of the vice president. And he was on The View. And locally, we haven't had a chance to break down the tapes, if you will. Again, thank you to everybody that was at the Buckaroo Breakfast. So awesome to see all of you, by the way. But J.D. Vance was asked one of these tough questions. And if you've ever had to say, gee, I was wrong about that one, he gives a master class on this. Let's take a listen.
It's been well covered that I was a critic of Donald Trump back in 2015 and 2016. Now, obviously, I'm sitting here as the Vice President of the United States in the Trump administration. Well, Joy, a little humility, actually. I think that when you make predictions and those predictions turn out to be false, you got to ask yourself, well, what made me wrong about that? What did I not understand or not appreciate? For example, I said that Donald Trump's economic policies would not lead to wage growth. They did in the first term. That was actually a major, major thing. I said that we couldn't bring back any of those factory jobs because I kind of had given into this idea that those jobs were disappearing. But actually, Donald Trump, you saw a manufacturing boom during that administration. So there's a certain point. Let me just this question. So there's a certain point where you say, you know, I made predictions about this. I ended up being wrong. Yeah. And in politics and anything, I think it's important to just say, you know what? I got some things wrong, and I was wrong about him.
Boy, the guy can roll when we're talking about adversity. The guy can roll. Now, remember, The View, they're on their best behavior because the FCC under President Trump hit them with, well, to pull your licenses. So the ground was a little even. But to go in there and to do the right thing and to take them on, and you could tell Whoopi is smart. Whoopi is like the Barbara Walters of this group now. Whoopi is smart. She's not the yuck comedian. She runs the show. And if you notice, what we try to do on this program is we don't interrupt people. And look, there are other people that interrupt, and they're very good, they're very talented, and they're very gifted. I just don't think that plays here in Idaho. But what they were trying to do was to interrupt him. And he was, you know, allowed to finish his answers, which I think that's, now you can't filibuster, but I think that's what you have to do. You have to allow people to answer. And again, you can't let them go on and on and on. But what this shows me about J.D. Vance, and by the way, we'd love to take your calls at 580-5436-580-KIDO. J.D. Vance can handle the adversarial media, but can he make it through the primary with the base, whatever that is these days?
Okay. So President Trump has called affordability a hoax. He said that, not me. He's pouring money into this ballroom of his and the reflecting pool. Oh, don't forget the Arch de Trumpet, I call it, and a White House cage match. All these things. Why is he doing them when you just, everybody knows that Americans are struggling? What is he spending all this money for?
Well, I got to defend the president on the hoax point. What the president said is the idea that Republicans caused the affordability problem is a hoax. And I think that's true. If you go back to the Biden administration, inflation got up to 9% under the Biden administration, okay? Right now it's at 3.5%. By the way, too high. We're doing everything that we can to bring it back down to 2.5%, which is where most people would like to see it. But we inherited an affordability problem. We're doing a lot to make it better. It's going to take a little bit of time. There's a lot more work to do. But the president knows that a lot of Americans are struggling. In fact, he ran on that. He talked about it. And we've done some things and made some good progress on that point.
He just said he loves the inflation.
What he said, Anna, what he said is that he loves the fact that the inflation is going to come down when this war is over. That's what he said.
That's not what he said. That wasn't a direct. Are you his interpreter or are you his vice president? Come on.
Well, look. What the president said. People were asking about the inflation. They were asking about the affordability problem.
There he has it.
What he said is
went into the lion's den. Went into the lion's den and solved that problem. Amazing. Phone numbers here, 580-5436-580-KIDO. We would love to get your calls on this, but this is the future of the Republican Party. Now, where does J.D. Vance fit in? Is he MAGA? Is he establishment? And you have other people. Now, again, a master class on when you go into an adversarial situation, what do? You use humor to diffuse the crazy.
I'm surprised at how tall you were. He's very tall.
If you only see somebody on TV, you just see their, in my case, giant heads. So it hides how tall I am. Yeah. That's right.
We are the table of big heads here.
So this is a show of MAGA Republicans, right? That's what my media team told me? Okay, good.
Well, we'll find out. Huh?
And there we have it. You know, wouldn't it be great if we could have a civil conversation? Wouldn't it be great if we had a civil dialogue? Now, that will never happen. If you're just tuning in, a couple of things, 580-5436-580-KIDO. Locally, We cover these stories on our website. Once again, the Ada County Commissioners banning the use of aerial fireworks or fireworks in general in unincorporated areas of Ada County. The fireworks are back. Everybody's going to be having a great time. It's going to be wonderful. Oh, never mind that we also are in a drought, and we hope and pray that people do not lose their homes. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and he said, look at Spokane. It's actually burning neighborhoods. Oregon, in a very tough state, and we're only in June. What is it, June 17th? Why don't we do this? We'll give you the cue to call now. Caller 10, you win those tickets to the Boise Music Festival. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. There we have it. We'd love you to win that family 4-pack. But here's something that if you're a police officer or anyone who practices common sense, you should really follow this crazy story. Because remember, police officers are supposed to follow the law, right? The law is the law is the law. So imagine, and we'll say instead of a Georgia deputy, it's an Idaho deputy. You have this Georgia chief deputy is accused of stealing department firearms to support a secret drug addiction, allegedly. So the police officer, what's he doing? The coke, the blow, the meth? No, apparently it's Adderall. Is he a young kid? No, he's no spring chicken. Ron James, 55, was investigated after a meth pipe was found in his police vehicle and was found to have taken and traded multiple guns dating back to 2018. So, wait a minute. You're a police officer and you're addicted to Adderall, meth, whatever, and you're getting the guns from the department. Nobody knows they're missing. And you're selling the guns to fuel your drug addiction. And this went back to 2018? Apparently, the deputy admitted to having an addiction to Adderall and tested positive for methamphetamines in a urine sample. He resigned before the completion of a GBI, that's the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, was probing him, and his arrest on 9 counts of theft by taking 1 count of violation to the office. So, wow. There we have it. By the way, congratulations to Wayne. Great job, Wayne. Wayne won those tickets to the Boise Music Festival. So if you're a deputy, it's probably a really, really, really good idea that you do not sell department guns to fuel your drug addiction. In fact, it's better off that you're not addicted to drugs and you do your very best, right? Phone numbers here. We've given them to you. Let's go to Ron Grant.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Who joins us now? And Ron, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing today?
Not bad, Ron. We've got the war. We've got the war ending. We've got everything going on, and we got to keep our money safe. Ron, how do we do that?
Yeah, it's not brain surgery, Kevin. It's pretty easy. Market goes up, we get a chance to go up with it. The market drops, we don't lose. And every year there's a gain, we lock it and go one way, and that's up. But most importantly, I want everyone to understand that a pile of money in a 401k and IRA is not a retirement plan. It's just a pile of money, and you have to take it out as a percentage, and maybe that percentage is higher or lower, depending on what the market's doing. You know, my clients and I, we sleep at night knowing that we have a lifetime income that we can't outlive. And if we're married, one spouse passes away, that other spouse gets that for the rest of their life, and then whatever's left goes to the beneficiaries. Income is so important. The top 1% of our nation gets income from multiple sources. You know, why wouldn't you? My clients and I get that lifetime income that's protected 100%. And, you know, Kevin, it's nice. We sleep at night knowing that we can't lose what we worked hard for, sometimes 40 years.
Ron, if people want to get a hold of you, what can they do?
I put together a great educational website that they can go on 24/7. There's articles to read. There's videos to take a look at. There's even a book to download. And that's 10 things to know about retirement income. Address is safermoneyspecialist.com. And my phone number is 208-660-1372. Let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley about how you can outlive your money, how to have zero stock market risk, but most importantly is how to have legacy protection for you and your family for the years that you worked so hard for that money.
Ron Grant, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate you, buddy. Have a good day.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. More of your thoughts on this, but again, we've got the Ada County Commissioners, by the way, they banned the fireworks. And then we have this situation involving the taxes. And I think the challenge that everybody is having is the city of Boise, is the city of Meridian, and now Ada County is saying they're raising taxes. Now, Governor Little will tell you he's cut taxes. Maybe Governor Little should bring that same type of ingenuity to Boise. Maybe he should bring that ingenuity to Meridian. Maybe he should bring that ingenuity to Ada County. And again, a lot of people are looking at this and they're saying, well, they're going with the headline. If it bleeds, it leads. We need to raise taxes to keep the lights on. You know, we're all doing more with less, unless we've invested in NVIDIA or Micron or anything else. Now, all of a sudden, you know, unless we're one of these people that are, you know, glued to the markets and doing very well, we're all wondering what the heck is going on here. We're all wondering, you know, what the problem is. And as I said before, could it be the case that we all just got very lazy? And we had, and I'll tell you the guy who brought this up, it was Senator Lenny years and years ago when he said, you know, Kevin, here we are in the pandemic, but state government continues to grow. Local government continues to grow. Everything is growing. Are the services growing? Are really the services growing to keep up with everything? Or are we just expanding government to expand government? And I said before, and I was, you know, again, in the wilderness, if you will, at 580-KIDO, that I said, could it be that Joe Biden is funding the state of Idaho? Could it be that it was just Joe Biden that was doing this the whole time? So again, we have the news stories because that's what they do. Do they do anything positive? You can decide. This year is not the same. Ada County faces potential property tax increases amid pressure. So why are we just figuring this out right now? We pay the commissioners, and we have a good relationship with the commissioners. They're welcome to come on this program. They've said, hey, we want to come on, and then I never hear back from them, and whatever. Look, I think they get me mixed up with Hilly and Billy, but that's okay. This is the People's Show. But the lead from our friends at Channel 6 that you still can't get on DirecTV. After 4 days of presentations, the Ada County Board of Commissioners deliberating fiscal year budget could require a property tax increase. Didn't they raise the taxes last year? So tell me how this works. We have massive amount of businesses coming in. Hey, look at us. We're making money. Good for you. We have massive amount of growth coming in. Where is that additional revenue? Let's examine it next. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. Then we've got the clash in Caldwell, the courtroom battles. And it's unfortunate that the situation in Caldwell will end with, in my opinion, I believe, once you file a lawsuit against your employer, there'll be some type of settlement, and then you'll have the chief going somewhere else. Maybe the chief wants to stay. We have a good relationship with the chief. We have a good relationship with the mayor. But once you start doing that, that's the end of the beginning, or truly the beginning of the end. And you have the papers that doing their job, they're just regurgitating what's in the lawsuit. And then you have people that are on they go to these Caldwell City Council meetings, and some guy said he's lived in Caldwell only a year and he's not very happy. He said he's extremely cognizant of the council's behavior and Caldwell's current poor image. And then apparently someone said they're going to file a lawsuit against the flock cameras. That's one of the great underreported stories in our area, where the cameras have been installed without people voting on them. The drones are being used without people voting on them. A great infringement of liberty that has been going on. But again, people in Idaho, they've come here to relax. But we are living in a mini police state, in my opinion. Now, again, the other hand of that, police will say it helps expedite catching the bad guys. It gives us eyes and ears. But again, there is the balance, like with the Patriot Act, of balancing safety, security, and individual freedom. So back to Ada County. Since 2021, this from Channel 6, the county has not taken the full amount of property taxes, leaving $33 million in taxpayer pockets. Yeah, because that's our money. So now we have people saying no other county has done that. Yeah, so this year, it's not the same. The pressure to keep the county on the correct path will require additional revenues in the form of property taxes or other revenues just to keep the lights on. So that's like you have a house payment and then all of a sudden you can't pay it. I really don't understand it. Now, they say the sales tax revenue flatlined. Well, wait a minute. Didn't we hire this soccer team that was going to bring it? I mean, isn't the soccer team selling things out? Oh, it's more than the soccer team, Kevin Miller. Oh, they're going to blame the new state law, probably 389. A new state law redirected a portion of the county's liquor, to fund Idaho State Police, cutting the county's share by several $100,000. The county is also forecasting $1.1 million less in interest revenue for fiscal year 27, and keeping employees whole with insurance, software support, and potential cost of living increases is expected to drive expenses up roughly $10 million. Well, that's the challenge that you have. Now, I believe the state, and I don't advocate this, they're laying people off. You look at the county. Do you take a look at employees? Do you take a look at maybe we don't need the brand new vehicles? Maybe we go to Christian Brothers and get our vehicles repaired. Maybe we take a look at our spending. And I understand it's easy to say. And the commissioners, again, I think they're the most responsive legislative body ever. I'm sure they're not very happy with this. And then when you have the alarmist, and in my opinion, irresponsible statement to say, which causes panic, to keep the lights on, is not a good look if you're trying to tell people to remain calm, all is well. How do we solve the problem? We'll tackle that between now and 10 o'clock. We find out whether we're in boom or bust next with Dave Petso. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you starting your day the right way with Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. When you hear the cue to call, be caller number 10, and you'll win that family floor pack. Joining us now, Dave Petso, host of Money Matters, Saturdays 8 to 10 on 580 KIDO. Dave, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. And here we go, Dave. A lot of things in the news. We'll start with you. What's the most compelling story going on about business and money today?
Kevin, we have to talk about SpaceX, right? I mean, we have to talk about that. Our first trillionaire. It's Star Trek. I know you were going to talk about it anyway, but I can't stop talking about it, thinking about it, and wondering what other enterprises are going to be coming from this. It is a whole new frontier, and it's exciting to think about. It's now currency for Elon Musk to be able to just use stock to go out there and buy up different companies that would tie in either to AI, to data center, building data centers in outer space, and or maybe other rocket companies that have technology. I don't know. I can't imagine there's much, but there could be some technology out there that would help speed along the further development of Elon Musk's space efforts. So I find it an incredibly exciting, interesting thing, and the IPO has gone incredibly well. It's simply marvelous to have seen it come out. A lot of it went to retail investors. It's been very controlled. We haven't had this meme stock spike, at least not yet. And I just think it's been a really very casual, interesting, biggest IPO in history.
Yeah, the value has certainly exploded. I had a friend of mine, pretty shrewd young lady, was telling me about SpaceX and saying that she would not invest in it because it's not making any money. And I think somebody else was talking about the cash flow comes from Starlink. And people are wondering whether or not, they're ever going to get their money back. This is where you come in. I mean, what do you say about the critics of this? You're very optimistic on it.
Well, and I'm not here to tout SpaceX, me, and Starlink, but Starlink is a stunning achievement all by itself. But that's not SpaceX. It launches rockets for the military because NASA can't really do it effectively, hasn't, and so they are the go-to, saving taxpayers billions of dollars over time on launching our military satellites, whatever it is the government needs. So those are just two of the current cash flow businesses. I think it's very difficult to, if you will, to value a business. But I have to say, first of all, that's what makes markets. It's people that think it's going up, some think it's going down, and they come to a price decision in a company like SpaceX, every fraction of a second, all day long. It's a decision that's made ongoing, and that price reflection is simply a market trying to find a realistic price. As far as buying it, of course, if somebody is not in a risk-taking capacity, it's absurd. It's not going to pay a dividend, probably forever. It is really it's going to be a part of people's portfolios because it's going to be in the S&P 500 and all these other indices that people own passively or in mutual funds that they hold. So all of that is to say that you're going to have a piece of this no matter what you do, if you have a diversified portfolio. But it doesn't have to be a big piece, and it doesn't make sense if somebody is wanting to have all of their portfolio producing income. This would not make sense. But as far as valuation, there are people out there that think it's going to be worth 10 times this figure over the next 10 to 15 years because of all the opportunities and how far ahead they are. And I'm not talking about people that, I found this one guy. We're talking about Ron Barron, the billionaire investor of Barron Funds that owns so much of SpaceX that people chased his mutual funds prior to the IPO, chased his mutual funds in order to own SpaceX through that. And so that's somebody that's very familiar with it. Again, not trying to disagree with your friend. I understand exactly what she's saying. They have a long ways to go to prove that they can get their money back out. So did Tesla. And I'm not saying Elon Musk can't make mistakes. I'm most certainly sure he can. But at the same time, he's not been somebody to bet against.
Interesting when we're talking about SpaceX. We'll see how that plays out. And again, the journal saying the flippers were wrong about it and all sorts of things. Okay, so you have SpaceX. Anything else that you'd like to talk about?
Kevin, if I could, this is something because I'm going to tee this up for you and your audience, hopefully, to have a discussion, maybe over the next few days, because I think this is an important society discussion that we have regarding our first trillionaire. You have the Looney Tunes, like Elizabeth Warren, that hasn't done anything her whole life, which is great. I always love it when people are telling us how we need to do things that have bloviated on and done and accomplished nothing in their life. Okay, they don't go build things, they don't employ people, but they know it all. And she and Bernie are out there telling people that this is too much, and it's just the beginning. They will be paraded around as some kind of villains, people that have made this kind of money. And why is that allowed? And what should we do? Let's just take it away. The only reason that SpaceX exists, that rockets are there in space, that there is internet connectivity around the globe in the middle of nowhere everywhere, is because a billionaire took in his own estimation, he thought that SpaceX had a 1 in 10 chance of succeeding. 1 in 10. It was a lunatic idea that never would have happened. No government would be doing this. Nothing would have happened if he didn't have high success from Tesla enough to risk again and have the capital of all the people that are participating in this and spending their own capital, not the government, not taxpayers, to go do silly things like throw rockets into outer space and see what happens, to start up boring companies because maybe it'll work, to do Neuralink so that people can walk again. These are the kinds of things that are and all of AI. All of that stuff is coming not because governments will it or people like Elizabeth Warren think they should take money away, but because they can better allocate it. And somebody's hurting over here, so they need to just give up all their money. This is a sad thing, and it is. I know it's going to catch more traction. And I think it's just an important thing that we decide as a society, because are we going to be a capitalist-driven society where people can take moonshots, and if they succeed, great. But if they don't, and most all of them don't, I don't mean 9 out of 10 fail, 99 out of 100 moonshots fail. And they get up off the ground and do it again. And the moonshots I'm talking about are in companies like Google. They have great cash flow. All of these things that they're trying to do, autonomous cars, all those things are coming not because the government is ordaining it. It's because people are spending billions and trillions of dollars over time, multiple companies racing towards a better future that we all enjoy. And let's not forget, in this time of everybody's walking around and, the economy is so bad, it's so terrible, everybody's hurting, and look at this and look at that. And it's like, no, we're not. We've never been richer per person in the United States. Is it perfect? No. Are there still poor people? Yes. Hardly any in the United States, but there are. And at the same time, I know that makes it sound like we're all I'm not sensitive to this, but Kevin, you already know that's how I feel about the rescue mission and the truly poor. It's my heart. But at the same time, when we sit around and mope about and complain about these things, we just launched Star Trek, the beginning of Star Trek. Our whole life, we didn't even think this was possible. This is an amazing thing, and I think we should enjoy it, and we ought to think about what this means in a society that is free versus one that is constructed.
Dave Petzo joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. You say we live in a capitalist society today, but really Joe Biden and President Trump have changed that with major investments allowing some American businesses, because of national security, to be revived and resurrected and renovated and be incredibly powerful now. I mean, are you worried about the end of capitalism? In fact, we've had a great debate, and we've got Tea Party Bob and Al and others taking me to task for saying we are now really essentially a socialist country. Even Elon Musk has government contracts. Yeah, and lots of people that are have businesses are going to end up doing things for the government. I'm glad he does. What it says to me is that the government can and will, at least under a President Trump, go and find the best and not worry about, that means Elon Musk is going to make some money by launching rockets, even though it saves us 80% off. We get 80% off. And by the way, we can't do it. So these are the things that, to me, by paying contractors outside in the free markets, sure, you can certainly have corruption in those cases. There's no doubt. When governments are writing checks for anything, there's corruption around some corner somewhere. Now, what we're seeing, though, within this administration, also to that point, Kevin, that I think is, I just pray we could have 4 more years, because I think we could turn the corner.
But you think about and look at the numbers. The government employment is going down. It's been going down for a couple of years now. This is a huge trend of cost savings. We're seeing modernization throughout the organizations. Maybe the IRS will figure out, what it's doing anymore. You might actually get mail in a reasonable amount of time someday if this work continues. The idea that we are getting better and that business people are looking is great.
Dave Petso. Let me just jump in for 2 seconds.
All right.
I love Dave Petso here, but Dave Petso, are you the champion of capitalism comfortable with the president investing in American companies? We won't even talk about Joe Biden, but I mean, that's truly crossing a line, is it not? Hold on. Let me just say one more thing. And I say this out of respect for you, Dave Petso. My man, Dave Petso, that has told us for years and years and years, the government doesn't do anything good. Now, maybe this is Kevin Miller trying to revive the old gotcha offense, which it never works with me. But please tell me, are you comfortable with this? And is that not socialism, sir?
No, I agree with you. And I don't think that there's all aspects of this are going to mean we are socialist. This aspect is. I don't want government in anything. Now, if government feels, and I think this is a totally fair point, the one that the president made, that we have to have chip companies in our own country. But pure capitalism says that's ridiculous. Everything from power, water, whatever, labor is way too expensive here compared to somewhere else. But we have to have it. If it's for national security, et cetera, then we do have some inducements there. And by the way, if the money is being put up, should there be benefit to taxpayers back, similar to 2008? I don't like the way they structured it. Some golden stock share or something like that some president in the future can go ahead and throw at some idiot program that they think is really going to buy some votes. I think it's a terrible idea, Kevin, but what I don't think is a bad idea is helping industries that, if we will, our national security needs, structurally we need, however you want to phrase it, that we have got to get going and really can't economically do it here, that the United States, as they did in 2008, take preferred stock, non-voting, you pay it back when the profits roll in, and then the government's out. That's the extent I would say any interest would be there. But otherwise, no. You know me, Kevin. I've said every time you ask about Intel or any of these companies, no, it's a bad idea, and we don't need to be having a sovereign wealth fund and all these other things. It's a silly idea, but I understand with the coming of AI, if there is a social upheaval, we are going to have to relook at everything, and we're not yet, but I think that time is coming where we're going to have to relook at things because so many jobs are going to disappear that are being done. Being taught in college, and I sure wouldn't worry if I was in the trades, but I sure would be worrying if I was coming out of law school.
Wow. Dave Petso with a home run. More coming up next with Dave Petso, host of Money Matters, Saturdays 8 to 10, only on 580 KIDO. Local taxes, Boise raising taxes, Meridian wants to raise taxes, Ada County saying they want to raise taxes to, quote, keep the lights on. Dave, time for your review and commentary about your beloved local government.
Yeah, well, you know how much I think that I love Boise's downward spiral here, and it's not. I think that it's probably better than L.A. and Seattle for governance, but it is really it's really hard to be praising what's going on in our city. People are moving here. It's a beautiful place. Everything's great. And it takes a long time, as we know, in places like Seattle and Portland, to have that devastating turn. But the idea that raising taxes more and more and more is going to produce a better city, I need to know where that has happened. Where is that happens? that is attractive to business, that is attractive to individuals. Just simply raising taxes. I love the last one that they had that came out. It was I don't want to misquote it, but it was we're going to raise your levy on your property taxes for several $million a year for a fund for clean water. Okay? And parks. In other words, it's a kitty that they can spend on anything. Anything can be declared in that same camp. Anything. No definition of what they're doing. We're going to do this. Like years ago, it used to be something like Hull's Gulch. We're going to set some money aside for the foothills to keep trails open, things like that, open spaces. Had a plan. And then you sell it to people. You don't have a wide open, because we all want dirty water. That's what, that's what I'm going to vote for if I vote no. It's an incredibly sad situation where the idea is just to raise taxes, and then we can do another program or two rather than looking to become more efficient. Idaho does so many great things on a state level. I can't believe how efficient they are. And it keeps working, keeps going through the state, whether it's in the prisons and reforms, where I'm really impressed. DMV, you can't make fun of anymore because you just do it from home most of the time. It's an incredible opportunity for all of these cities to embrace technology, reduce costs, and improve services. And that doesn't mean a tax increase.
Pretty wild when you think about it. And are we just really sowing the seeds of Joe Biden's money running out? Because on one hand, we're talking about building and everything else. And Ada County and Meridian are very different from Boise, but they're still wanting money. And, the mayor with her little petty comments blames the state for everything. And it's like, well, what do you do besides open parks and, talk about how bad the state of Idaho is? She's an adult. She's well educated. She's a responsible person. You would think that she would have something better to do than whine to Channel 7 about this. I don't really understand that. And again, people are running with the comments from the commissioners. We need a massive amount to keep the lights on. Well, hey, bro, nothing personal, but what have y'all been doing that now we're in crisis? It doesn't seem. You would not be Dave Petzo. Well, you would be, but you wouldn't be in business. You wouldn't be talking to me. If anybody would run their private enterprises the way seemingly our cities and county governments are being run right now.
Yeah, that's why I always say it, and it is true. Government doesn't do anything well. They really don't, and you hold me to that a lot, like you did today, and I'm going to stick to it. It's not a good thing, but this is the thing that I ever since I've been an adult, and I am baffled by the lack of planning and the stupidity of it. We always run around, go, oh, the schools are falling down. We need to have an override levy. What? You didn't know that the roof lasted 20 years? Your maintenance people didn't know things were happening? You didn't reserve any money? No, they don't. They don't, because it's best in government to spend everything that comes in and then just go begging for more and do an override levy, because the kids aren't getting air conditioning. It's the HVAC units are all falling apart. Oh, God, we got to, let's get $50 million. And then they go out and spend it instead of reserving for it, planning for it. And that I actually do think that the state does a much better job than local on these types of things. But this is the lunacy of all of this. We don't plan for roads. We're not putting money aside. Now, that isn't totally fair. I talked to one of our commissioners who really wanted to set the record right. And so I need to give a shout out to him for correcting me on that. Some of that stuff has been planned and set aside for years. So there are departments that are doing it and thinking forward. But I will also say, in fairness, this individual did say most of the time that's true in most other departments. So we do have a problem in education and in so many things where the city's not thinking ahead. That's why it's, in my mind, it's become critically important for deep thinking, smart people to get into government and kick out the administrators that just want to put in their time and don't want to make changes. And that's not all of them, by the way. The ones that are good are going to rise to that occasion and say, thank God, they just didn't put me in a corner and tell me to shut up. Now I've got some meaning in what I do for my living. And that's what the kind of people that I want to see in there. We're seeing that on a national basis. People don't talk about it enough. But Donald Trump is changing every single department because of the brainiac people, the movers and shakers that he's putting in each of these departments to save money. We need to think that way on a local basis as well. Get people in there to make those changes. We'll save a ton of money, and it will be better services.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder. So I guess you're not going to run for office, huh? You're smart enough to stay out of that cesspool.
I did. I'll be honest, Kevin. I took my wife and I spent a lot of time talking about it and thinking about it because I love the city, but it's just not right for me. I don't take punches very well. I just don't. I'm just not a political hound. I just say it like it is. I can't do it any other way. And I just decided, and with great respect to a lot of people that ask, I said that no, I'm not going to. I'm not the right guy. I'm the right guy in the background to help, and I mean that. But day to day, city council meetings, I think I would develop a crack habit.
Well, we don't want that. What do you make of the alleged end of the war? And again, the president seems to run everything by the stock market, and then we have this affordability issue. But I know you're market-centric, but there is more to life than the market. But we'll start with the war.
First of all, I don't know why the market is celebrating the end of the war. I don't know that it's the end of the war. The Iranians have, the old adage, of course, with the Iranians is that, they're lying because you see their lips move. They've never held to anything. They lie about absolutely everything. So I don't know that this is going to hold. We all hope it does. We hope for the Iranian people that somehow that their people rise up and do this, not us, they. And but I don't know that this is over at all. In fact, the Strait isn't open yet. We haven't signed anything until Friday. So perhaps we'll see more activity over the weekend. Not positive activity, but let's hope so. But, Kevin, I think the war has certainly driven up energy prices, and we're seeing them coming down, of course, in response to that. What I find remarkable is how well the economy is doing with a shutdown strait around the world, and that's not just energy. That's all kinds of things. We all know the fertilizer and all these things. But we're doing fine. We're doing just fine. It's the Iranians that are suffering. And we all have our own commentary to make on what the war ought to be or not to be, but that's not my expertise.
Finally, how do you see the outlook over the summer? It's a little slow sometimes, but how do you see the outlook over the summer here pertaining to the economy and to the markets?
Things look pretty good, Kevin. I don't see any reason. This is the hard thing, right? Because what it sounds like is I'm making a prediction that the market's going to go higher. All I'm simply saying is, yeah, it'll go higher, and some weeks it'll go down. That's what markets do. And then we'll have a bigger correction at some point, and then it'll go to all-time highs again. That's what it's done for 200 years. I think that it makes no sense to bet against it when we are seeing energy prices come down. We are seeing a government that is operating more efficiently. So I think we're heading the right direction there. But there isn't anything out there except explosive IPOs on the market that are leading us into areas of off the charts increases in productivity with AI, and with opening a new frontier in outer space, and all of the accompanying things. Rockets have to be built here. All of those things and data centers have to be built here and in outer space. or here to launch into outer space. Either way you look at it. These are things that are coming so rapidly, and I just don't see any reason. Now, let me put the caveat on it. You don't need a reason. Markets will just simply change sometimes. We're going to babble. We've been babbling for a couple of days now about the Fed. Who cares? That doesn't matter what they're talking about. It truly doesn't. And for years, I wish they would have shut up. And now we've got a new chairman, and that chairman has said, I don't like babbling about everything every time. Let's just we'll be transparent, but we don't need to babble about every single thing. And so I think they're heading the right direction with this. So a number of things I think are going to calm down, that people keep thinking about, worrying about. Interest rates going to go up. I think these things are okay, and the job market's okay. Last report was great. So overall, the economy is doing okay. What's really, I think, in a bubble right now is people complaining and people wondering about the AI bubble. And they just keep talking about it. And so those are the kinds of things that, how bad it is and how horrible it is. It feeds on itself. And I wish we wouldn't do that, because the data just doesn't say that everybody's poor. It simply says the opposite. Everybody has never been richer than they are right now.
Dave Petzo, we appreciate you, sir.
Appreciate you, Kevin. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day and a great week. Thanks for having me on.
Our great friend Dave Petzo. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Let's get President. We'll be meeting with the media coming up to talk about his trip with the G7. I'm sure he'll also talk about the peace deal. Will he give us the details on that? We'll stay tuned. And how about this? We're at war, and whether or not we continue to be at war depends on who you talk to. And can you imagine at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, that if we had a war against the Russians, against the Ukrainians, against whomever, and we had our own team cheering against us, which is truly unfortunate. And so the president looking to cut a deal, because, look, the president, unlike a lot of people, he's not a warmonger. The president just wants to mind his own business, make money, and get rolling. And yet we have people that are going to smack at him and say that this war was an unnecessary war. So what happens if there's another attack, this time on the homeland? Are all the liberal and Democrats going to say he's right?
Do you want Israel to halt its military campaign?
I want Israel to be able to protect himself, but I do want them to use good judgment.
Well, the good judgment is you have Hamas and Hezbollah wanting to kill the Israelis, and you have the Iranians that want to kill the Israelis and kill us, the Americans. And we have the president trying to make a deal. Let's roll to Lucille, who joins us now at 580-KIDO. Hello.
Good morning, Kevin. Well, it seems to me that the only endless war we're fighting here, and it's a relentless war, it's a war with the left. Forget Iran. Those are the ones that are constant war because they want to be in power, right? And they're not. So that is the most important war that we're really fighting, and we've been fighting it forever, and I think we'll continue to fight it forever. Now, to those people who are so ready and willing to throw President Trump under the bus because the hags at the View told them so, I wonder if they remember the ignominious retreat from Afghanistan that happened under the wise guidance of Biden. And of course, everybody lauded him, and he's fighting an endless war that was going on forever. So we left behind, billions of dollars in weapons that those people are going to use against her. But look, you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs, right? And what worries me, Kevin, is that I'm worried about these people who pay attention to the imbeciles at the View and similar, those horrid, ignorant, hate-filled women who make me ashamed of being a woman. So instead of listening to them, why don't they pay attention to what happens in Europe? Why don't they pay attention to what happened in England? That they also got missed Because, yeah, I know that the Conservatives were doing a bad job. So what did they do to improve the thing? They went and voted for the left. The rest is sad history. Now they have a country that is subject to Islam, where women are raped and killed every day on the street, and men as well. But, you know, poor things. We're guilty because we mistreated them in the past. And that is what worries me, Kevin. I'm going to say it for the umpteenth time, not happy about the war in Iran, but hey, somebody had to do it sometime. And I'm not going to throw President Trump under the bus because gas is a little bit more expensive. What was gas like? What was the price of gas like when Biden held the country hostage, Kevin? Remind me.
Was not good.
And, you know, for the imbeciles that squawk like stuck chickens because Trump is improving the White House, may I politely remind them that he's doing it with contributors' money, not with taxpayer money. But of course, the hags of the View have the, you know, socialist mentality that if you have money, then you should throw it around like confetti, because they haven't got the slightest idea how the economy works. And don't forget to give them the lion's share. That would be unfair. So please, I'm talking to my, you know, fellow conservatives, if there still are some. Don't be so hasty to throw President Trump under the bus. Let's try to support him, okay? Give him the support he needs and pray that this ends up well, instead of knee-jerkedly, oh, I'm not going to vote for him to spite him because because of you, the people of the View say that he is horrid. So I have to say he's horrid as well. Let's try to avoid that, Kevin, shall we? I mean, for the good of the country, that's important to anybody. My goodness, I wasn't even born here, and I'm more concerned about the national security and the good of the country that some people seem to be. So what do you think?
Well, it appears that, you know, again, you have the liberals and you have the media that are cheering for the bad guys because they don't like America. Yeah. They don't like Donald Trump.
Exactly. So it's better to cheer for the ones who want to kill us than for the one who wants to save us from the ones who want to kill us. And that in the liberal language is called common sense. And we wonder why things are the way they are. We have to defeat these people, Kevin, the liberals, the lefties, at the ballot box, because it's like England. Please pay attention to what's happening there, because that is exactly what's going to happen here. People that come from England, Katie Hodgkins, which is a sort of an Ann Coulter, English Ann Coulter, she came here and, lectured and begged Americans not to let their country go the way England went. She begged them. And I'm doing the same. But the problem is that nobody knows, nobody cares what's happening around the world. They want their pony. They want that, and they want, the president to do what they want them to do, him to do, and what the View tells them that they have to do. It's mind-boggling, Kevin. All I can do is pray, and hope for the best, and try to instill some common sense. Be a little bit more mature. Don't go with the last person that criticizes Trump, no matter how popular or how hip he may be. That's all, that's not a great recommendation. So I hope that people will think about this a little bit more deeply and consider what Trump is trying to do, what he's trying to save us from, and what the communists in this country are trying to lead us to, which is our demise. We're going to be like England, dominated by
let's hope not. Lucille, thank you for the call. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. 36-580 KIDO. Why don't we do this? Caller 10. Caller 10. You're going to win our family 4-pack to the Boise Music Festival. And looking forward to seeing you, one of the largest, if not the largest, free festivals in America, coming to Garden City a week from Saturday, Marshmello, Sean Paul, not John Claude, but Sean Paul, Everclear, and a cast of others, including some great local acts, that will be in Boise, in Garden City, doing their very best to entertain you. And why not go for free? Again, caller 10. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next hour, we'll continue to look at this peace deal when we're talking about the European reaction, the international reaction, our reaction. It's just very strange when the media continues to be adversarial with the president. Like I said, the president last night, very, very dominant in the primaries, and yet that doesn't stop people from trying to go after, again and again and again, trying to go after the president for doing the right thing. J.D. Vance going on The View, J.D. Vance doing all these things. Let's go back to 60 Minutes. Remember 60 Minutes and Steve Kroft and how they treated Obama? Remember this?
Barack Obama is the first president since George Washington to be taking a step down into the Oval Office. I mean, from a visionary leader of a giant movement, now he's got an executive position.
Again, that's Terry Moran, who used to be with ABC Fake News.
Obama is the most noble man who has ever lived in the White House.
Is he one of our brightest presidents? Absolutely. I think so.
This guy's done everything right. He's never not only broken any law, he's never done anything wrong. A lot of things are just perfect about Barack Obama. He's the perfect father, the perfect husband, the perfect American.
You can see it in the crowds, the thrill, the hope, how they surge toward him. You are looking at an American political phenomenon.
You know, you are the equivalent of a rock star.
The feeling most people get when they hear a Barack Obama speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg.
I don't think we've ever had a president, save Lincoln, who is as great a speechwriter as this man.
They were moved by you. People were crying.
We've seen people moved to tears after just the briefest encounter with him.
We wanted to take note of these images we've been looking at, particularly this one where other heads of state are seemingly trying to get close to the head of the class, or the cool kid in the class, if you will, President Obama. What do you make of this?
People in the not too distant future will look back at this presidency. They'll look back at this president and they'll say, oh, of course they gave him the Nobel Peace Prize. Of course they did. That totally makes sense.
I showed him this week's Newsweek, hot off the presses. How does this feel, of all the honors that have come your way, all the publicity? Who does it make you think of?
There we have it. No wonder Joe Biden was so bitter. Look at how much they loved Obama. How much they loved Obama. By the way, congratulations, Kelly, winning the Family 4-pack to the Boise Music Festival. Chandler joins us now on 580-KIDO. Hello, Chandler.
Good morning. Kevin, hey, good morning. Good morning. I got three things for you today. First off, I want to start with the phone number, 208-608-7647, 208-608-7647. Have you talked about the controversy going down on Harrison Boulevard yet today? Or I don't want to repeat if I don't have
to. No, we didn't talk about that. We were at the Buckaroo Breakfast.
Okay. So for those of you who are out of area and might be listening to Seattle on the awesome podcast, which is ever growing and expanding, Harrison Boulevard runs through the north end of Boise. It is the only area in the city of Boise that is exempt from the 50-minute cities up zone thing. They're allowed to keep their characteristic neighborhood. You just can't build anything there. And they've got that nice, beautiful, picturesque middle aisle median. And there are light poles, and they hang flags. And it traditionally had been the Idaho state flag and the American flag. However, because Boise's pretty gay, we started adding a third thing, and we started seeing the pride flag. And so that was going down. However, due to the laws that have changed, that went away. And so this year was the first time where, hey, we've got a real punishment because it's considered public space if you're flying that rainbow flag. And so it had been only the American flag and the state of Idaho flag. However, it turns out there are some flag wraps that have been done on the trees. The rainbow pride colors, much like the wrapping done at City Hall, are now prominent and present. And so, the poor trees are having these staples put into them. This is damaging the bark. This is an ecological disaster. It turns out a private citizen requested that this could be done, and the Parks Department approved it. Now, if you got an issue or complaint, operators are standing by 208-608-7647. I'm counting on the KIDO audience to mobilize on this the same way you stopped the Santa and Drag thing at the Botanical Gardens. I know you can come through for this. And then the other thing I want to talk about is the Iran stuff. I don't quite understand why so many people are so down on Iran. Is anybody even talking about Iran's policy on choosing life? They have one of the strictest abortion laws in the Middle East. It's pretty much illegal, just like in Idaho. Only in cases of where the mother's life's at risk are you allowed to perform an abortion. And if you get caught, you can go to jail, you face the death penalty. Just like the laws we have here in Idaho, And so I'm really so angry and frustrated about hearing about the mullahs and hearing about Hezbollah in Ukraine, when there is an attorney general in Virginia who has said he's fantasized about killing Republicans and killing the children of his Republican opponent, and he wanted a landslide. He is the chief law enforcement officer in Virginia right now. He has said he wants to kill you and kill I. Not some mullah far away, not Zelensky, not the Russians. We have an elected Democrat who wanted a landslide who fantasizes about killing us. And that's not to mention, you want to talk about a real threat. Think of the elected Democrats throughout America who are advocating for the killing of babies. Right now, they're doing everything in their power and their purview to make sure more American babies die every day.
A late savage, if you will. Good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning. Nice to talk to you once again.
Well, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has. Have we spoken this week? I feel like we might have, but this week has been a bit of a blur for me because I've been up all night watching World Cup soccer and all the rest of it, and at the same time trying to keep my eye on what's happening out there around the world.
You hear that, folks? He doesn't even know if he's spoken with us this week. Obviously, we are just one of his many stations that he saunters in and out. Not so much with us, the Potato Cartel. You know something?
No, I don't think we've spoken this week.
No, we haven't. Because if you would have spoken with us, you would know it.
Yeah.
You would. We're not going to go to your socialist-loving World Cup slurping, if you will. Not us. We're not going out like that. Okay. Our beloved president in France laying the smackdown, saying to you people, we've saved the world. Why don't you people love us?
Well, he literally said, I'm the boss, when he arrived at the G7 this morning. He strode in, proclaimed, I'm the boss, to the counterparts, all sitting around this large conference table. They're waiting to get started. And the leaders, they chuckled happily at that little comment. Quite a moment of levity, despite all the weighty discussions that are having to take part in. Maybe that was an acknowledgement that they agree that he's the boss.
Well, they acknowledged him.
They acknowledged him, Roman Reigns style.
Yeah, they did. So, what, if anything, has come out of this meeting, sir?
Well, they're all acknowledging his deal with Iran. There was a joint statement that has come out in the aftermath of this meeting, unanimously saying that they back it, saying it's a historic opportunity to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon, and saying that they are ready to support implementation mechanisms if required. So some cautious optimism there. Aside from the declaration, some of the leaders have been saying they want to find out more because the framework agreement hasn't been published yet. We haven't been able to get our eyes on it. We hope to see it very soon. J.D. Vance, the vice president, said that the reason it's not being published is at the request of Qatar and Pakistan, the mediators, and he's trying to persuade them to publish it later on today, which would be welcome, I think, for everybody, because nobody outside a small number of people know exactly what's in this Iran deal. Obviously, it'll include Iran saying they don't want a nuclear weapon, saying they want to enter discussions on their nuclear program, and both sides saying they will support reopening the Strait of Hormuz. But there are a lot of questions about what else could be involved, and I imagine some of those questions were asked at the G7 today.
Well, CNN has this, at least they say they do, and let's go over a few of them. Regional ship traffic to return to pre-war levels within 30 days. U.S. and Arab partners to create a plan to help the Iranian economy, financing of at least $300 billion, and the commitment to lift all sanctions against Iran. That's if they behave. But Jonathan Savage, let's face it, we've been around this block before with these people.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is Iran, a country which has always said that they don't want a nuclear weapon and they only wanted a peaceful nuclear program. But at the same time, they were enriching uranium well beyond the level needed for power generation, just a short technical step away from the kind of purity you'd need in order to produce one or multiple nuclear weapons, doing all that while saying they didn't want to make a nuclear weapon. So there is definitely a trust gap here. That's going to, I think, hang over not just the next 60 days of negotiations, but the future. And a lot of people are going to be saying, look, Iran might agree to X, Y, and Z, but how are we going to enforce it? How are we going to monitor that Iran is doing what they're saying they're doing? Because in the last few years, they withdrew their cooperation from the International Atomic Energy Agency. Will they allow nuclear inspectors back in? And will we be able to make sure that the nuclear inspectors see everything that they want to see? So we get 60 days now whereby the discussions will take place, the negotiations will take place. They'll begin immediately after the ceremonial signing on Friday in Switzerland with Vice President Vance and a senior Iranian on the other side of the table. And I think that people will be watching, waiting, perhaps anxiously, in the hope that what comes out of this is going to make people satisfied and confident that Iran will be in their nuclear box.
How does Qatar come out on this?
I think that Qatar comes out satisfied. They have been in a bit of an odd position because they were one of the countries which was targeted by Iran. After Operation Epic Fury started, Iran retaliated by targeting not just U.S. military bases in places like Qatar, but the energy and industrial facilities of these countries that hosted the United States military, threatening to cause absolute regional chaos and certainly causing significant damage to the economies of countries like Qatar. Qatar have been a secondary mediator along with Pakistan. They are building their reputation as a country who will talk to everyone and try and solve problems. So they have been involved in this. They, I suppose, had to swallow their pride a little bit to mediate with a country that had been firing drones and missiles towards them. But that's the way it goes. They'll be very happy to get the Strait of Hormuz reopened, for sure.
Yeah. You have to wonder how this plays out. And obviously, Riyadh season getting ready to roll. If you watch the UFC at all, that was very big. Of course, your beloved wrestling coming to Saudi Arabia as well. So there's a lot of tourism dollars that have been endangered because of this deal.
Yeah, it absolutely is the case. You have countries which have tried to build their reputation in recent decades as safe havens for your money, with strong financial institutions and investment opportunities and very, very low or non-existent personal taxation. And safe havens, in terms of your security, these are countries which have stayed out of conflicts to a greater or lesser extent, certainly try to keep conflicts away from their door, taking strong action to deter the threat of internal strife. They are, in some cases, very, very strict places to live. And then these countries where people moved from the UK and elsewhere seeking low taxes, high safety, good weather, all these people found themselves subject to air alarms air raid alarms and drones coming in and explosions in the sky. So, for a lot of these countries, it has absolutely shaken up their entire, not just economic model, but social model as well.
Jonathan Savage, anything else you'd like to add?
What would I like to add to this? We right now are waiting for President Trump to take to the stage. He's about to give a news conference. I'm just going to bring up on my screen to see if there's any action there, and I don't see any at the moment. Looking forward to hearing what he's going to say, because he took a few questions earlier, and I expect that he'll answer more questions, more detailed questions today about the content of the deal that he has struck, and we're all waiting for that. Now, after that, he has been invited to the Palace of Versailles, just outside Paris, by French President Emmanuel Macron, invited for dinner, along with some other European leaders. And I think that is probably going to be quite a nice dinner, in all honesty. French meal in the Palace of Versailles. They're not doing Uber Eats, I'll tell you that.
The hated Treaty of Versailles, back to the end of World War I. From the German perspective.
From a German perspective, indeed.
Watch out for the Germans.
That'll come up in conversation with Friedrich Merz. Who knows?
Watch out, the Germans in the World Cup, buddy. We're coming.
Yeah, they looked pretty strong against Curacao, didn't they? But
it's a country of 130,000, though.
I know. I read today that Scotland are most likely, if they get through to the next round, to play Germany. Even if we do get through to the next round, I don't think our World Cup adventure is going to last that much longer.
There's something about the Germans. The only reason why my buddy is German, they just have this vibe about them. They always have. You're closer to the Germans than we are. Is that true?
No, they have a vibe. I love them, but they have a vibe about them. They are no-nonsense individuals. They like their
They're
beer.
not very humble.
They like their meat.
They're not very humble.
Yeah. They're confident. They're not quite, I'd say, as overconfident as the Dutch. They're not quite as blunt and direct as the Dutch, but they give the Dutch a run for their money.
Our ambassador, Jonathan Savage from Fox News Radio. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, your call's next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Calvin, who joins us now at 580 KIDO.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Good morning, Americans. Kevin, I want to thank you and all your listeners for showing up for the Snake River Stampede here in Napa, Idaho. It was a wonderful time. I'm glad I had the opportunity to meet your folks.
Well, it's always great to see you.
I just want to remind people that the next few days we have a great rodeo here. I encourage you to come down with your family and partake of it. You'll enjoy it. It's still a part of American heritage, where they cowboys, cowgirls, where cowboys are men and cowgirls are still women. So it's a great concept.
Yeah, I really like how, we have our own crew there, and it was great to see so many stopping by. Rocky, always great to see Rocky who listens, and it's a long drive for him, so we appreciate him coming in and so many others that stop by.
Yes, it's wonderful. And, there are people that came from all over. It was just a very enjoyable meeting. You have so many fans that listen, Kevin, and I encourage them to come on and express their opinions. We want to hear what they have to say. These are Americans, and what they have and think is very important.
Well, I would agree with you on that, and a lot of people seem to be afraid that in the world that we live in today for some strange reason.
Well, there's a lot of fear and anxiety out there about being marked as a good guy or a bad guy or whatever side of the fence you're standing on, but it's a great place to come. And I do thank you again for being there.
No, I love being there. It'd be great to, continue to do that. It's interesting what's going on in Caldwell, though. You have a lot of people that are upset and lawsuits going back and forth. Where do you stand on that, Cowboy Calvin?
Well, where there's smoke, there's fire, Kevin, and there's problems. But our new mayor is here to change things and get it back on track. That's good. That's good. Let us have the opportunity to do that, but not degrade him. He's doing what he can, and I think he has a positive attitude and a lot of good ideas.
Well, I mean, he's a good dude. He really is.
Yes, he is.
Mayor Phillips.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Napa is on track too. It takes a while and a little compromise here and there.
Well, it was great to meet the new mayor of Nampa. I've seen Darrell before, and it was great to see him again, and nice of him to make time to talk to us.
Yes, it was.
Well, Cowboy Calvin, you're getting ready to go to Portland. How are you preparing yourself for that?
Well, I'm packing and I'm out of there. I'll give you a report from Portland.
Keep your head down, brother.
Okay, happy trails.
Happy trails. I'll be making that trip very soon as well. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This is just one of these outrageous stories.
Major League Baseball has called out 3 players on the San Francisco Giants who made their private beliefs public while the baseball team was celebrating its annual Pride Night last Friday at a game at Oracle Park, where the Giants wore caps with rainbow-colored stitching for the letters SF. 3 pitchers on the Giants used a marker to write a biblical verse on their caps. Starting pitcher Landon Roop and relievers J.T. Brubaker and Ryan Walker all noted a passage from the book of Genesis that states the rainbow is a covenant between God and the earth. Giants reliever Sam Hentges just wore the standard Giants cap. Major League Baseball said the writing on the cap violates our rules, and consistent with normal practice, we've warned the players about future violations. Jared Max, Fox News.
We'll get more on that in a minute, but here you have, when we're talking about expression, sorry, Christians, you're not allowed to talk about the Lord. From the New York Post, Giants pride hat controversy. Tolerance does not apply to Christians, an opinion piece. And the Giants pitchers expose the limits of liberal tolerance. We all know there is no limit to liberal intolerance. There's never been, well, they're conservative, you got to let them speak. They've always sought, sadly, to eradicate us. They've always sought to villainize us and call us toxic and all sorts of craziness. But here you have these guys wanting to express themselves. Now, the Giants have embraced Pride Month. These gentlemen are simply speaking about faith. They're not speaking out against pride. They're not doing anything else. But again, I think that if it were any other religion besides Christian, it would be okay. For some reason, the country's dominant religion is not allowed to be promoted or even spoken of.
Senator Josh Hawley has written a letter to Major League Baseball saying that these players are being subjected to religious discrimination after Major League Baseball players on the San Francisco Giants were criticized by Major League Baseball for writing Bible verses on their team-issued Pride Night hats during Friday night's game against the Chicago Cubs, including Landon Roop, a 27-year-old right-hander from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, who started and pitched 4 2/3 innings with Genesis chapter 9, verses 12 through 16 written on his cap next to the rainbow-colored team logo. After the game, Roop said, "There's no hate at all. It's just what I stand for and what I stand on. I believe in God." 2 relievers also made appearances in the game with Bible verses on their hats.
Yeah, Lucas Tomlinson reporting. So Josh Hawley and others are right to be upset with this. Now, people are going to go, oh, it goes against the code. Really? So you're telling me if it was any other type of religion and such? Well, it has nothing to do with the game. That's crazy when you think about it. And now, thankfully, this is another reason why we need Republicans. Now, a lot of people say, well, the Republicans are, they're not this, they're not that. Could you imagine if there were no Republicans to question Major League Baseball? And by the way, the businesses in this country, they're allowed to compete. We talk about college sports. they get a lot of tax breaks because of Congress. They get a lot of tax breaks because of Congress and the laws, most notably the NFL. I love this from Sam Korkus of the New York Post. If Democrats were the party of toleration, as they claim to be, they would be praising the actions of Roop and Hence. Instead, it's the case of the Christian Giants. Crazy when you think about this. At 580-543-6580 KIDO. I mean, what's so wrong with putting? You can't write John 3:16 now. And remember, when we talk about the mayor of Boise and others, she's always talking about, it's the tolerance and this, that, and the other. Well, what about being tolerant of people you disagree with? Where does that come in, folks? Where does that come in? Think about that for a moment. More coming up as we take your calls. Also, the president scheduled to speak. We'll see if we can grab that as well. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. We are expecting the president to speak. We'll see if we can grab that for you. Also, J.D. Vance on how to handle the opposition from yesterday on The View. Did you catch that? It was remarkable when you have J.D. Vance going toe-to-toe with everybody. And The View people, they couldn't help themselves. They were just full of themselves, going on and on and on, trying to just derail this guy, which, you think about it, he went on and he was very polite.
You don't have to
Let
raise your
me
hand.
do my follow-up.
Yes, I do.
Because you were talking about people. What did black people do to this administration that has allowed it to really stigmatize folks of color? And you know how hard it is. You have folks of color in your family.
Sure.
So when you see, things, the Emmett Till stuff coming down, or them doing all kinds of removal of information of black heroes, how does that sit with you?
Well, what exactly are you talking about, Whoopi? Because you just, I know Emmett Till was the kid. No, I want to know what she's.
You don't know what I'm talking
to your
about.
actual point.
So in a lot of the museums, there's so many. Where they're taking down the actual history that happened in this country. Slavery happened. All kinds of stuff happened, and it seems that it has been very easy for this administration to remove that, and also to denigrate black folks who have worked their behinds off to get this American dream. How do you, you know better.
So Sonny, that was actually a very helpful intervention, because I think the story you're talking about is where, allegedly the administration is holding back the appointments of people based on skin color. I've seen this story.
I'm talking about a host of things. I'm talking about black history getting erased from public spaces. Black voter districts are being dismantled. Black leaders are being sidelined from our ranks. Where do Americans of color fit in this vision? Because it doesn't seem like we fit.
I think, Sonny, my view,
And if I may, since October of last year, there's been something like 6,668 refugees allowed into the country. All but 3 were white South Africans.
So, first of all, I'm very skeptical of that number, because we have a lot of different immigration pathways in the United States of America. But let me just address Whoopi's point. Look, first of all, you asked the question, and maybe you don't believe this coming from me, but I think everybody is welcome in our political coalition. Frankly, even if you didn't vote for us, everybody is welcome in our country, so long as you're an American citizen with the duties and the legal obligations and rights to be here. But Whoopi, let me just give you an example of this. Okay, so you say that we're anti-minority or anti-black.
No, I didn't say that. I asked. See?
Well, okay, fine. Fair.
Don't start any stuff with me, man. Don't get me in trouble. Don't start no stuff with me.
I misinterpreted your question, but let me answer your actual question there. What I'm saying, I think, okay, look at Washington, D.C. One of the most democratic and one of the blackest, by share of population, blackest cities in the United States of America, has seen a radical decrease in violent crimes and sexual assaults and in murders. We have tried to take the crime issue seriously, in part because we believe everybody, whether you're black or white or rich or poor, deserves to live in a safe neighborhood.
Why does the crime, where does the crime?
So, by the way, this is from The View, courtesy of ABC. Kevin Mill in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. I'm sitting here looking at this, and J.D. Vance played it perfectly when he said, well, tell me what's the problem. Whoopi, tell me what's the problem. Specifically. And none of them could. They just kind of, well, you know, this, that, and the other. They didn't get to specifics. And then when he talks about the benefits of the tough on crime legislation and implementation in D.C., well, you know, blah, 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 blah.
Crime. This is about
lost their jobs.
Right. This is about human
Sonny,
rights.
What you're saying is we got to do more on the economy.
And black history has been erased from public spaces.
Black history is not erased from public spaces.
Guys, we do have to get to Iran when we get back. There's some very important news to
I'm
get
telling you, we celebrate black history. We celebrate all American history.
Yeah, we're celebrating all American history. And like I said, J.D. Vance comes on this show, and this is really how they treat him.
I mean,
and black history has been erased from public spaces.
Black history is not erased from public spaces.
Guys, we do have to get to Iran when we get back. There's some very important news to
I'm
get
telling you, we celebrate black history. We celebrate all American history. In this administration, you guys might be skeptical of this, but I promise you it's true.
I have to go to break. Anna, God, please, we have more with Vice President J.D. Vance when we come back. Don't do that.
Yeah, The View, they're attacking themselves, which is pretty wild. Like I said, very, very strange. Other news that we've been talking about at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, is the situation locally where we've got the Ada County commissioners. They say they got to keep the lights on. Is this any way to run local government? And the fireworks. The fireworks are back. A lot of fireworks shows. People are going to be very happy about them, which is wonderful, but we are in a drought. Statewide, you've got the battle for the Republican Party chairmanship. And it's funny, I didn't know that Steve Thane was in the running. I know Mark Fuller was, but Steve Thane, our old friend, former senator, who loves education from Emmett, he's running. So that's a three-way race there. And then you've got a three-way race for the vice chair. And you've got old Dustin. And then you've got Old State Mark, and then you've got Vicky Purdy, very close to Tea Party Bob, running. I got to believe that Purdy has that one. I think the other two will cancel themselves out. But I didn't know our old friend Steve Thane was back in the thick of things until I was looking online about this. Let's hear more of J.D. Vance.
In the book to explain that good policy was maybe one of your justifications, but the quote and when you tweeted that or X'd it was not about policy. It was what Christians were willing to excuse. And that's the part I can't get past. What are you willing to excuse in the name of power?
Well, I would say fundamentally that one of the things I underappreciated about Donald Trump is that so many of the things that people said about him weren't actually true. Again, you talk about humility. Okay, so I see Donald Trump, I see a clip of him, or I see not even a clip of him, but reporting about something that he said, and I take it at face value. For example, let's just go back to one of the most controversial things Donald Trump said during the first term that I was wrong during the first campaign, is that I was led to believe by the stories. I read stories that said Donald Trump said that all Mexicans were rapists. He never said that. What he said is that the certain South American countries, Central American countries, were releasing criminals into our country, including Mexico. By the way, that was objectively true. So it's not so much Christians.
Fidel Castro did that in 1980 with the Mariel boat lift. There have been many journalists, including CNN, where you used to work and be my colleague, that have tried to find evidence of that. There is no evidence that Maduro was releasing people from insane asylums or jails like Fidel Castro did do. This was made up, and we just can't, accept it without pushing back.
Anna, we know that there were people who were released from prisons who were encouraged to come into the United States.
By the way, who do you believe? The vice president or Anna, I'm happy to have a job, Navarro? Brian in Nampa with Kevin Miller on 580 KIDO. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for that. My heart rate's up to 89 after listening to that. I got to give the vice president kudos. I couldn't have done that, Kevin. That's a trap, dude. He did pretty good, all things considering, but it's a trap. Kevin, who here for the last, 20 years hasn't heard of Black History Month? It's supposed to be equal rights, people, not you get the priority. You just made the point about the guys that just put a verse on their rainbow flags, and the left goes nuts. They absolutely went nuts. Hey, Kevin, you know what I'm celebrating this month? Not Pride Month. I'm celebrating Humility Month. Because in my religion, my God told me pride is a bad thing. It's a sin. It's one of the deadliest sins. It always comes right before a civilization falls. So I don't celebrate Pride Month. The only thing I have pride in is in my God. So if that offends somebody, I'm sorry you're offended. You're free to be offended, just like I'm free to say what I get to say. And if you don't like that, then you don't get to say what you get to say. So, kudos to JD. I don't know how he did it. I can't do it with my health problems.
He's a gifted dude, man. He's really gifted.
He is, and he's very articulate, and he knows how to throw it back in people's face, and I give him credit for that. He really does good at that, and I'm hoping it's either him or Marco Rubio in the future, if you know what I'm saying. But
I know, yeah.
I don't get it. My God, the rainbow to me is I'm never going to destroy the planet with a flood again. That's what the rainbow means to me. So every time you guys fly it, I laugh. You're celebrating Christianity. You're celebrating that God isn't going to destroy you, the God that some of you deny. There's even people in my family that do that, Kevin, that are on that side. So wave your little rainbow. I know what it means. Oh, and by the way, he never said he wouldn't destroy it again with something else. I don't know, like fire, maybe. So if you really want to go down that pride road, good luck. You're not going to have to answer to Kevin. You're not going to have to answer to the elite clicker. You're going to have to answer to him. And he's already warned you that pride is not a good thing in any form, even Brian's pride, as little as I have left, is not good. So good luck with that. Any questions, my brother?
God bless you, Brian. We love you. More coming up next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Back in his perch on 580 KIDO. Hello, Tea Party Bob.
What a pleasure to be out of the traffic and the hustle and bustle of the crazy world you live in down there, I have to tell you. Nice to be back in a nice, cool environment with very little aggravation around me. But thank you very much for what time I had on the radio down there at the rodeo breakfast. I thank you for that, and I thank you for all that you do for the community, my friend. I wanted to speak a little bit about this agreement. When you hear the politicians talk about the end of the war, I think more about it being the beginning of the end of the war. Negotiations are ongoing, and we all know that the current Iranian regime have never lived up to any of their agreed to promises. So while we may have a written agreement, I expect even after it's signed, there will be further conflict. How do you end a war with a nation that has been screaming at the top of their lungs, death to America, for the past 47 years? And the only way that this war is going to end is with radical regime change, when the people get tired of living under a dictatorship where if you protest, chances are you will die. The people in charge do not think logically, as they are tethered to the religious beliefs that all infidels must either convert to Islam or die. And while I believe Trump has built a lot of caveats into this agreement, my best bet is that the treaty will be violated within 30 days or less of the signing. And the Iranian Revolutionary Guard are hardcore Muslim zealots. And the way they are structured is many separate military units who have the ability to act on their own without any central command. There is no way to communicate right now with these independent units. So they're acting fully on their own power. And on the other hand, if indeed we can get rid of the current radicals that are in control, there's a good chance that Iran will turn itself around and become one of the most productive countries in the Middle East. History tells us that prior to the revolution of 79, Iran was one of the great success stories of the Middle East. And up until 77, the last normal year before the revolution, Iran had the world's 29th largest economy. Most people don't understand that. By 1977, they were 18th. To tell the truth, it was the U.S. that played a direct role in creating the conditions that produced the revolution in 1953. As the restoring of the Shah's power by a foreign government like the U.S., it festered in the eyes of many Iranians for almost 26 years, leading to the ousting of the Shah and the installation of the Ayatollah as the supreme authority. Prior to 79, Iran was modernizing, urbanizing, becoming a culturally vibrant society with a growing educated class and expanding women's rights. They actually had 22 women in their parliament and had one of the strongest economies in the developing world. So I believe this is what and why President Trump is not trying to forcefully push for regime change, but is hoping that the people of Iran, with some encouragement, will rise up and change the current government by themselves. The left will continue to scream loudly about the agreement because they will never admit that neither Obama or Biden's agreements worked to stop nuclear expansion, but indeed gave them, the Iranians, the money necessary to get enough enriched uranium to make 10 bombs. So whatever they said about Obama and all of the accolades that the liberals gave him in the eyes of any true conservative, this man was the great disruptor of our nation and the reason we are so divided today. And after 8 years of Obama as president, our military was weaker, our country was weaker, and our stature in the community of the world was weaker after his apology tour. And I don't even want to discuss what an idiot Biden was. Trump is the great disruptor of our age who has brought us back to reality. And in my opinion, Vance is showing Americans every day he is in office that he is going to make a great world leader at some point in time and somebody who could actually lead this country to bigger and better things after Trump's term. Anyway, that's about all I have to say today, Mr. Miller, and I thank you very much again for my time. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
We appreciate you.
Stay out of trouble, my friend.
You too. Let's see. That's funny. Tea Party Bob with a history of the Iranian things. It's not every day that we get this exclusive audio, actually video, from the Boise mayor. And the whole theme of this program, by the way, let's go to Concern first. Concern, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hello, Concern.
Yes,
Didn't want to leave you behind. Yeah, please go ahead. It's been a while.
Yeah. I just wanted to comment on the interview with the vice president. It's such a hoax. I wish people would just actually put some thought into it when they start looking around. I watch TV, watch Fox or news channels and stuff like that. I see a lot of commercials, and the commercials are overwhelmingly they have blacks in there a lot. And it's overwhelming compared to the population of their 13 to 20% of the American population. if you look around, if you looked at the Congress as a whole, and you take the percentage of black people in the population, and you look at the Congress, it's more than exceeds the percentage of blacks. And it's like, to sit there and say that they're not getting a fair shake is just ludicrous at this point. I mean, there's all kinds of benefits if you're black. And the other thing is, too, what about all the monuments they were tearing down before, and all the other things they're tearing down in American history because of some kind of a racist type of thing that someone might have ran into? It's like this problem is not going to be solved until they stop doing one thing, and that's, you're not African American, you're American. No one goes around, I'm not, Czechoslovakian, German, Serbian type of individual. I don't go by that. I'm an American. So when they drop the African part, if they like Africa and they want to be African American, they're more than welcome to go back and go back to your country but you're living here in America. And you need to drop the African American and just consider yourself American, and you'll be into the melting pot of this country. But as long as you keep on calling yourself something different, and you're praising another country, that this is going to happen. But they don't want to be equal anymore. They want to dominate everything, and just don't want to be Americans. I just don't understand it. And it's never enough for these people to stop complaining and worrying about it. It's just the next generation, and everybody promotes it. And just become American. And there's a lot of good black leaders out there. I wish they would step up and start saying these kind of things, but they just sit there and concentrate on the bad ones that sit there and promote this constant. It's the white people's problem, and they did it to us. And they just, gosh, we got doctors, we got presidents, we have everything, that has to do with it. They're not out there separate anymore. But I just wanted to add that 2 cents in, and kudos to Vice President for going on The View with them very ignorant women. And like I said, when you try to narrow it down to one subject, they don't have it. Slavery. That's all. That's all they know. And but thank you for your show, Kevin. And I'll just stand by and listen.
We appreciate that. By the way, thank you, Concern. We are expecting the president to speak. I'm sure Clay and Buck will have that as we roll along. But before we get rolling, I want to thank everybody that continues to listen to this program. I wanted to share with you this. Do we have this, Sweet William? Let's see if we can get the audio correct on this. This is the Boise mayor on Facebook.
Hey there, Boise. We are out here painting curbs. We've heard loud and clear from residents that we want to both keep our kids safe and follow the rules. So our parking enforcement crew has been out here painting intersections to make sure that we all know where it's okay to park, so that we've got a line of sight to keep our kiddos and others.
Actually, it's KIDOs, ma'am. It's not kiddos, it's KIDOs. So here we are. We don't elect people to really do their job anymore. It's the cult of personality, where we have the mayor of Boise who is painting curbs. And somewhere, some social media guru said, get a baseball hat on, ma'am, get your cardboard out and start painting curbs. Paint them not orange, not blue, but yellow. Very loud yellow. The type of yellow you have when you've had too much vitamin C or too many multivitamins.
Well, hey there, Boise. We are out here painting curbs. We've heard loud and clear from residents that we want to both keep our kids safe and follow the rules. So our parking enforcement crew has been out here painting intersections to make sure that we all know where it's okay to park, so that we've got a line of sight to keep our kiddos and others safe as they're crossing the street.
Oh, isn't that nice? Now, quit being such a curmudgeon, Kevin. Here we have the mayor of Boise who is painting curbs, raising taxes, and we should all be happy because they're going to lower the tax increase from 4% to 2.7%. And again, to me, cheap shot by her when she said, well, it's the state that does this. Did we elect Brad Little to run the city of Boise? Maybe we should have. Did we elect others to be more fiscally responsible? Maybe we should have. Will people buy this? Does anybody have enough guts to liberate Boise? Isn't that a year away, that election? Isn't that the next big one? Local elections in Boise. Are we going to have more of the same? Remember when Dave Beater was challenged the last time he ran before he was booted? It was, 4 or 5, 6 contenders? That's the thing. And I know that the Republicans are having their big meeting, and Steve Thain and Mark Fuller and others that are running, Vicky Purdy. It will be interesting. Old State Mark. It'll be interesting to see if people bring up, people are talking about fundraising online, but what about Boise? How has Boise been allowed to thrive politically? There's, it's like you talk about the complete opposite of Idaho, and that's the city of Boise. The Republicans dominate the state, just like we've seen in Portland with Oregon. And you have a painter, looks like a good painter, who's the mayor. Good day, God bless, I love you. And remember, no matter what, keep the faith. Mayor, what say you?
Well, hey there, Boise. We are out here painting curbs. We've heard loud and clear from residents that we want to both keep our kids safe and...
Hear that? That's the sound of busy. To a restaurant, all that shouting and banging might as well be a symphony. It means the long days and longer nights are paying off. Sure, it's noisy, but there's a worse sound. This, not busy. Busy means business, which is why Toast gives restaurants the tools and tech they need to help them perform under pressure. Sounds pretty good, right? Toast, built for busy.
Today on the pod, we're talking to Megan, trapeze artist and Scratchers enthusiast. So, Megan, what do you like about playing Scratchers?
Well, they're easy to play when I'm hanging around.
Oh, okay. Like when you're relaxing?
No, like when I'm hanging on the trapeze. I swing upside down, then do a quadruple somersault, all while playing Scratchers. Watch this. Ta-da!
Unbelievable.
I know, right?
Scratchers from the California Lottery. A little play can make your day. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase player claim.